Author's Prologue. Although this novel is set in the world of theater, I decided to title each chapter with an iconic line from a play I've read at some point in my life. Lines that I'm sure these acting students have encountered in their own classes as well. Of course, because their professors made them. I wanted to share these works with readers because many of them are true literary gems. They're not included just for decoration. Each quotation and the play it comes from have meaningful connections to the events of the corresponding chapter. For example, could you guess, just from reading Chapter 2, that Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is about verbal sparring and emotional deception within a relationship? Chapter 1, To Be or Not to Be, from the play Hamlet by William Shakespeare. Many alumni who return to visit the school after graduating always say the same thing. Art is still art, it never changes. If there were one way to describe the students of this faculty as accurately as possible, it would be this: a group of wonderfully eccentric people who are passionate about art, yet somehow spend most of their time thinking about food and certain other desires. That might sound like an unfair, biased generalization, but if you asked whether it was actually wrong, well, an art student would probably have to step forward and defend themselves. So, Phi, have you ever gotten back together with an ex? The question from the young influencer hosting the interview hit Jack like a punch. The tall young man with broad shoulders and sharp features froze for a second. He glanced toward the cameraman, a friend of the host, to make sure the camera was really recording. What kind of crappy show is this? No. Jack frowned at them. You told me you'd only ask easy questions for TikTok. It is for TikTok, the influencer replied with a perfectly straight face, although anyone could tell she was struggling not to laugh. That only irritated Jack even more. I'm not answering something like that. Come on, Phi. I waited forever to get you on my show. Then ask me something else. If I didn't ask questions like this, do you think my channel would have 1 million followers? She grinned proudly before raising the wireless microphone toward him again. So, are you going to answer, Phi Jack? If not, I'll go interview someone else. Wait. No need to threaten me. No, Jack said, trying to calm the situation. That's really not necessary. Just answer it. A man should stand by his words. The influencer dramatically shook her head, making Jack want to flick her forehead. She paid no attention to the fact that he was glaring at her with a face flushed red, assuming it was because of the alcohol at the alumni reunion. In reality, Jack's glass contained nothing but soda. Fine. I'll save that question for next time, Phi Jack. When you come back on my show, don't forget to answer it. Girls message me every day asking me to interview you. It wouldn't be fair to keep them waiting. She winked before leaving, but not before raising her phone and snapping a selfie with her special guest using the rear camera. The flash burst brightly, temporarily blinding Jack. By the time his vision cleared, both the host and her loyal cameraman had disappeared into the crowd at the By Seniors, Class 36 event. At that moment, music thundered from the stage, drawing Jack's attention. He folded his arms and clenched his jaw, looking as though he were irritated by whoever was performing. His bronze skin blended into the shadow cast by the enormous banyan tree where he had hidden himself from the crowd of partying, drunken students. Unfortunately, his peaceful moment with a glass of plain soda didn't last long. Jack nearly lost his balance when 2 friends suddenly threw their arms around him from behind. Come cheer for Dean at the front of the stage, Tua said, confidently tugging at him as though he could drag Jack's large frame away from the tree by force. Jack didn't budge. Why the hell would I cheer for him, he scoffed. He loves making himself the center of attention at every event. You idiot, Timmy shouted as he hurried over beside Tua and shoved Jack hard on the shoulder. No drama tonight, okay? I broke my promise not to drink, and now I'm drunk. So come on, let's get to the front. This time Jack couldn't refuse. With Tua on one side and Timmy on the other, they pushed him through the crowd until they reached the front of the stage. Once they found a good spot, the 2 of them started dancing with such ridiculous enthusiasm that Jack had no choice but to believe they were genuinely drunk. He let out a mocking laugh. A slow song about lost love drifted across the stage. As Jack listened to the lyrics, he looked up and saw the 2 performers gazing into each other's eyes while they sang. A wave of heat spread through his body. It felt like wearing clothes so uncomfortable that he wanted to tear them off immediately. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jack slipped away. Although Tua and Timmy tried to grab him, They couldn't catch him. Assuming he was simply in a bad mood and would return later, they continued dancing with everyone else. Jack headed toward the Hawaiian-themed bar, an ingenious creation made from old faculty tables that had been transformed into something surprisingly beautiful. It was no surprise. Art students had always been experts at turning almost nothing into something vibrant. "Just a soda," Jack said grumpily to the student tending the bar. The younger student looked confused. "Soda with alcohol, Phi?" "Plain soda," Jack repeated firmly. "Nothing mixed." Someone approached beside him, speaking loudly enough to compete with the music. "And a beer for me." Jack turned his head just as the newcomer looked at him. The exaggerated look of surprise was so overacted that even a first-year acting student would know it was fake. Still, Jack decided to play along. "Raffy." He gave a polite nod. "Hey, Jack. Already drunk?" Raffy asked with a mischievous smile. His sharp, cat-like eyes looked as though they were plotting something. "I'm not drunk." "Look," Jack raised his glass. "I'm not even drinking alcohol." Well, the great Jack quit drinking. Raffy chuckled. "Since when?" "None of your business." Jack answered curtly, annoyed that anyone cared. "What about you?" "Already wasted." "Nah, I'm just drinking for the atmosphere." "Good. You already look drunk enough." "Really?" Raffy touched his own face. Feeling the warmth in his cheeks, he laughed before reaching out and touching Jack's cheek as well. "See? You're warm too." Jack narrowed his eyes coldly. This wasn't ordinary drunken behavior. He knew Raffy was playing some kind of game, but he wasn't interested in reacting. "Yeah," Jack replied dryly. "Very warm." Raffy kept his hand on Jack's cheek for far too long, making the situation increasingly awkward. Fortunately, the bartender finished preparing Jack's drink. "Thanks." Jack took the glass immediately, using it as an excuse to step away. He looked back at Raffy. "Take care. Don't get too drunk. Get home safely." "Worried about me?" "I'm worried about whoever has to carry you home." Raffy smiled as he watched Jack disappear into the crowd. Then he took a sip of his beer, the look in his eyes making it clear he was planning something. "Phi ing. Come sing the next song." The band switched to a more upbeat tune as the previous duet ended. Jack recognized that voice instantly. Its soft, gentle tones stirred something inside him, making him look toward the stage without thinking. Then he saw the owner of that voice standing close beside the man with the guitar. An irrational irritation rose inside him. He forced himself not to wonder what they were talking about. "Thanks for inviting me to sing with you, Phi-san." Dean smiled brightly, his round eyes sparkling as he spoke to the guitarist. The worn leather guitar case covered with layers of old and new stickers spoke of countless performances. "Come on," San laughed. "We've got to put on a show, right? At the level of Sinkham's Prince." "You're exaggerating." "What prince?" "I don't have any title." "You don't need one. Everyone on campus knows Dean is the life of every party. Whenever people talk about the Sinkham boys, you're one of the first names they mention." Dean smirked. He enjoyed compliments. He never rejected praise. It made him happy, fed his ego, and often got him exactly what he wanted. "Should we keep drinking, Phi-san?" His flirtatious tone was unmistakable. Before San could answer, an irritated voice interrupted. "You done yet, San? Are we leaving or not?" Dean frowned. Another man walked over and casually wrapped an arm around Kane. "Dean, this is Ray, my boyfriend." Ray looked at Dean with a completely expressionless face. Even without changing his expression, his words cut like a knife. "You sing well," Ray said calmly. "Too bad your voices didn't match." Dean was momentarily speechless. Even so, he smiled politely and nodded, accepting the criticism despite knowing it came from Kane's jealous boyfriend, the very person who had invited him to sing. "I'd better get going. Enjoy yourselves." Dean stepped gracefully off the stage without waiting for another word. Even if he looked like the loser in that exchange, an art student would never let anyone see their pride crack. He scanned the crowd. Spotting Timmy and Tua near the stage, he headed toward them, though the person he truly wanted to find was Jack. "Well, look who's here." The center of attention, Tua teased. "Everything okay?" Timmy asked absent-mindedly, his eyes still fixed on the stage. "I'm fine," Dean answered, though his gaze continued searching for Jack. "I saw you almost collapse up there. What was that? Trying to act like someone's secret lover? So dramatic." "I was only joking." Dean rolled his eyes. "It's not like I wanted to steal anyone's boyfriend. I'm a free spirit." "And what if he took it seriously?" Tua asked. It's fine. He seems pretty easygoing. Shameless, Timmy muttered before turning back toward the stage. Dean laughed, almost taking it as a compliment. Then he finally spotted Jack standing a few steps away, one hand tucked into his pocket while the other held a glass. Did I sing well, Jack? I don't know. Jack kept his eyes on the stage. I wasn't paying attention. Really? Because I saw you watching me. I was just enjoying the atmosphere. Jack finally looked at him. Don't flatter yourself. The tension between them instantly thickened. Timmy and Tua slowly lowered the hands they'd been waving and exchanged silent glances. I think I should go lie down, Timmy said. Yeah, Tua agreed quickly. Let's go. Wait, let's all go together, Dean called after them. It was useless. The two drunken friends staggered off into the crowd without looking back. Dean sighed and placed his hands on his hips. When he turned around again, only he and Jack remained. Jack deliberately kept his distance, avoiding Dean's eyes. What are you drinking? None of your business. Jack lifted his glass, but Dean snatched it away first. After taking a sip, Dean immediately made a face. Ugh, who drinks plain soda? Not even a little alcohol. Want me to fix it for you? What I drink is my business. Jack took the glass back. If you want alcohol, go get your own. I can never do anything right in your eyes, can I? Not since we broke up. Jack clenched his jaw. After a long pause, he spoke again without looking at Dean. You already know that. Chapter 2. What a dump. From the play Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? By Edward Albee. When he parted ways with Timmy, Tua finally realized just how drunk he was. He staggered unsteadily along the sidewalk while the music from the bar still echoed faintly behind him. For a moment, he wondered if he should go back. At least there, he knew his friends would make sure he got home safely. In the end, he changed his mind. Pulling out his phone, he opened the Grab app. Maybe the rush of a motorcycle ride would clear his head. Or maybe, if he was lucky, he'd fall off, crack his skull on the pavement, and end everything. Tua. He reacted immediately, spinning around so fast that he nearly lost his balance. Before he could fall, someone caught him. Are you okay? A deep voice asked gently. Oh, Arnold. Because of the height difference, Tua had to tilt his head back to meet the other man's eyes. His cheeks were flushed from the variety of drinks he'd consumed. Arnold was clearly a little tipsy as well, though he still carried himself with his usual composure. He wore a sleeveless shirt that showed off his well-defined muscles, making him impossible to overlook wherever he went. His kind eyes, framed by thick brows, complemented his strong jawline, giving him a striking, unforgettable face. At that moment, those eyes were filled with concern. Heading home already? Yeah. I was about to call a Grab. I thought about going back to the party, but I'd better not. Those guys are drinking like there's no tomorrow. They'll probably stay until sunrise. I know what you mean. I escaped too. They've been forcing drinks on me since 6 this evening. It's insane. They both laughed. Then Arnold frowned as something occurred to him. Wait, doesn't your place happen to be near my apartment? Yeah, but don't worry about it. I don't want to bother you. The ride should be here soon. Bother me? Between friends. Arnold smiled. It's not like you've never ridden on my bike before. Tua smiled back. It was true. This wouldn't be the first time. You're overthinking it. Cancel the ride. If you feel bad, just pay me what you would have paid the driver. Tua had a refusal on the tip of his tongue, but a cold gust of wind swept over him and stole the words away. In the end, he simply nodded. Arnold carefully guided his special passenger to the motorcycle, helping him climb onto the back before driving him home, just as he'd promised. The bathroom on the first floor, near the Faculty of Arts Theater, was usually the quietest place on campus. Unless the acting students were putting on a performance, almost no one ever came there. Looking for a little privacy, Raffy slipped inside to relieve himself, while making a phone call to the one person he hoped could calm the storm raging inside him. Are you at the condo? Can I come over? Are you drunk? A woman's voice asked from the other end. A little. That's why I miss you. I want to see you. I really can't tonight. That's it. The call ended without another word. Raffy stared at his reflection in the mirror, exhausted and frustrated. The alcohol, combined with the memory of Jack back at the bar, made him burn inside. He knew he wouldn't sleep unless he found some way to release the pressure building within him. Suddenly, one of the stall doors opened. A young woman stepped out, casually buttoning her blouse, revealing a glimpse of her pink bra as though it meant nothing. She walked past Raffy and left the bathroom. A moment later, The man who had been inside with her emerged, zipping up his pants. Found a place to blow off some steam, huh? He said. Raffy vaguely recognized him. Rome, a music student in the same year. What's up, Rome? With the sly smile of a fox, Rome ran a hand through his messy hair before fixing Raffy with the sharp gaze of a hunter. I overheard your phone call. So what? I'm leaving. What do you want? The acting students. Rome's eyes gleamed beneath the bathroom lights. Are they all that intense? And if they are, no problem. Rome shrugged. But can you handle it? You talk too much. Then help me out a little, Rome replied bluntly. Raffy wanted to snap back. Yet instead he found himself asking something far more dangerous. So anyone will do? Even a man. If he's attractive, I don't care, Rome answered with another shrug, as if it were the most ordinary thing in the world. In the end, it's all the same. Raffy's throat tightened. Heat flooded through his body, leaving his mouth unbearably dry. He wasn't sure whether he wanted water or something else. Without warning, Rome stepped closer. Before Raffy could react, their lips met. He surrendered to the heat of the moment, swept away by the sudden rush of desire. A second later, Rome spun him around until he was facing the mirror, staring directly at his own reflection. You asked for this, Rome murmured, meeting Raffy's eyes through the mirror with an intensity that made him tremble. This isn't right. Relax. Guys like me don't kiss and tell. Look at yourself. It's not like you can have just anyone. Rome didn't answer. Instead, his strong hand slipped toward the waistband of Raffy's pants. Feeling the other man's trembling, he smiled with quiet satisfaction before deft fingers slid inside, taking exactly what he wanted that night without asking another question. I'm taking Shakespeare's work and giving it a modern interpretation that reflects our own era. It's a story about the conflict between two generations, with their children's love caught in the middle, Jack explained. And the ending? Someone asked during his presentation to the committee. Will everyone die like in the original? This time, I promise the lovers will have a happy ending, Jack replied proudly. The age of tragedies filled with death is over. They love each other, and even if they have to overcome countless obstacles, death won't be the end of their story. His passionate speech earned enthusiastic applause and cheers from his classmates. Tua and Timmy, who had come to support him, raised their thumbs proudly. Standing nearby, Raffy remained expressionless, though a faint smile appeared as he watched Jack shine with the same unwavering passion for theater he had always possessed. Once both candidates had presented their proposals, the voting began. Each had supporters, but Jack's popularity was impossible to ignore. Jack! Jack! One vote after another went to him. Finally, the results were announced. This year's theater festival director, creator of the winning production Romeo Romeo. Jack! The hall erupted in applause and excited cheers. Even Ninu's supporters applauded the unanimous decision. Jack thanked everyone before embracing the close friends who had supported him from the very beginning. I'll be the producer, Timmy declared. Someone as creative as me deserves that job. I'll write the script. Tua volunteered without hesitation. I'll handle the sound, added Billy, another classmate well known for his talent in that field. Although Jack received more support than he had expected, the real problem wasn't assembling the production team. It was finding the actors. Everyone already knew what would probably happen. Dean will definitely get the lead again. They always pick him. With a face like his, it's obvious he's Jack's favorite. Jack glanced toward the person everyone was talking about. Standing among the crowd, Dean smiled confidently, his arms folded across his chest as he held Jack's gaze, as though he were already certain everything people were saying would come true. It had always been that way, but this time would be different. There'll be a fair audition, Jack announced. Those who've always gotten the lead roles shouldn't take them for granted anymore. No one should think they're better than everyone else. Dean frowned. He knew those words were aimed directly at him. Meanwhile, Raffy watched the exchange with a sly smile. He knew he had a chance at the lead role too. His gaze shifted between Jack and Dean before a cunning smile spread across his face. Quietly, he slipped away, brushing past his friends as he left. Once the voting was over, Jack finally found himself alone in the rehearsal room. He imagined what the faculty's production would become. He pictured his friends filling the roles he'd written. But when he thought of Romeo, only one face appeared. The one face he wished he couldn't see. At that exact moment, the owner of that face interrupted his thoughts. No matter how many auditions you hold, you'll choose me in the end, Dean said as he entered the rehearsal room with an easy smile. His lean yet athletic build was perfect for a stage actor who needed stamina. Folding his arms, he stood confidently in the middle of the room, looking straight at Jack. You think that because you've starred in all my plays, you're guaranteed the lead? Jack shot back. Dean grinned arrogantly as he struck an exaggerated theatrical pose. I only have to look at you to know what you want. I know exactly what emotions you're searching for. I've never disappointed you, Jack. Admit it. That was before. Jack raised his voice as he stepped closer, refusing to back down. Now I want to try something new. Can't you accept that? Sure. Dean smirked. You keep walking around looking miserable with that bitter expression. I've never seen you seriously try anyone else. Jack lowered his eyes. As always, no one understood him better than Dean, especially when it came to reading his thoughts and saying exactly what Jack least wanted to hear, because it was true. You're awfully interested in me, Dean continued. Interested enough that you even mistook that Chan guy at the bar for me. What are you talking about? Isn't it true? Dean raised an eyebrow. His sharp gaze drifted down to Jack's belt before he hooked a finger beneath it and pulled Jack closer. Jack immediately turned his face away in anger. What's wrong, Jack? Dean whispered, his voice low and husky. Do you want me to look only at you? Your ego never changes. Work is work. I don't mix my personal life with my professional life, unlike you. Dean pouted in mock disappointment before letting go of Jack's belt. He had to admit that, in the past, he'd taken advantage of the fact that they were ex-boyfriends to secure leading roles in several productions. That didn't mean he wasn't professional. I'll prove that no matter how many people audition, I'll still be the one who gets the lead. Just like always. If you're really convinced you can find someone better than me, then go ahead. But sooner or later, you'll choose me again. No one can surpass me. Dean's words, reinforced by his unwavering confidence, left no room for doubt. He let out one last laugh before turning and walking out of the rehearsal room without a backward glance, leaving Jack standing alone in the empty space, trembling with frustration. Chapter 3. Attention Must Be Paid. From the play Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. Raffy believes the audition for Romeo and Romeo will help him prove himself as an actor. But that isn't his only reason for joining. He also wants to catch Jack's attention, a director everyone recognizes as exceptionally talented and destined for a bright future. He isn't about to let an opportunity like this slip away, especially now that it seems Jack no longer needs him. He's waited far too long for this chance. The selection of the theater group's director is what finally motivates Raffy to attend one of his elective classes. Normally, he pays little attention to it. He only enrolled to earn the required credits. The problem is that if he skips again, he risks failing the course and having to retake it. That's why, for once, he's determined to arrive on time. Class has just begun. As Raffy pushes open the door and steps inside, the professor at the front of the room advances to the next slide. The professor glances briefly at the late arrival without making an issue of it, then returns his attention to the presentation. Raffy spots an empty seat at the back of the classroom, the perfect place for someone with no real interest in the subject. He heads straight toward it, not noticing who is sitting beside him. So obsessed with me that you even signed up for the same class. The first thing Raffy sees is Rome's teasing smile. He never expected to run into him again, much less without warning. I enrolled a long time ago. I just don't come very often. I didn't even know you were taking this class. Last night was incredible, wasn't it? Can you stop talking about that? Raffy snapped irritably. Do you want everyone to hear or something? Rome nodded as though he intended to behave, but he couldn't resist provoking him again. Last night was, damn, incredible. I was drunk. There's no way I'd do that with you if I were sober. What are you two talking about back there? The professor, who had been watching them for a while, interrupted with his arms crossed. Raffy was about to apologize, but Rome seized the opportunity first. We were talking about last night's final project, Professor. Was it that enjoyable? Very enjoyable, Rome replied, shooting Raffy a mischievous glance. So enjoyable that someone couldn't hold back. Raffy refused to let Rome have the last word. I'd say it was pretty average, he replied sarcastically. Nothing special. Really? Rome raised an eyebrow, playing along. Because you look pretty into it. Like your life depended on it. That's enough. I'll continue with the lesson, the professor said, cutting them off. He had no interest in listening to any more nonsense about their so-called final project. The two of you can continue this conversation later, in private. Although the lecture continued as normal, Rome kept watching Raffy. Raffy pretended to focus on the lesson, while Rome stared at him with the patient confidence of a predator stalking its prey. Tua spent the day browsing Pinterest for inspiration, saving images with a specific color palette he wanted to use for the theater group's costumes. He already had plenty of ideas to discuss with Jack, the director, later. As he searched for interesting references, the sound of hip-hop music drifted from a nearby rehearsal room. Normally, no classes were scheduled there at that hour. Students usually used the rehearsal room during their free time to make phone calls, gossip, share secrets, or even take naps before their next class. Apparently, someone was using the space to practice dancing. Curious, Tua walked over and discovered Arnold practicing breakdance with complete focus. He stood quietly, watching Arnold's perfectly sculpted body move effortlessly with the rhythm of the music, like a living work of art. After a while, he remembered he actually had unfinished business with him. Standing outside the room, Tua tapped gently on the glass. Arnold stopped immediately. Rather than looking annoyed, he smiled softly when he realized it was Tua and motioned for him to come inside. "How long have you been standing there, no?" Arnold asked as Tua entered. "I wanted to pay you back for giving me a ride last night. I almost forgot." Tua pulled out his phone, ready to transfer the money, but Arnold lightly flicked him on the forehead, pretending to be upset. "I can't bring myself to charge a drunk person. Do you even remember what you did last night?" Tua stiffened. He suddenly felt both nervous and curious, wondering if he'd embarrassed himself. "I didn't say anything weird, did I?" Arnold grinned mischievously, making Tua sweat even more. He feared he'd confessed something inappropriate. Instead, Arnold said, "Relax. You just complained about your life about 100 times. You were like the main character in a Japanese drama. Though, now that I think about it, we do have something in common." "What?" "We've both got a little crush." Tua looked anything but pleased. "If you really want me to pay you back, just give me your prompt pay number." "No need." Arnold took Tua's phone and slipped it into his own pocket, confident that would settle the matter. Completely unfazed, Tua stepped closer and reached into Arnold's pocket to retrieve it. Their hands brushed together, startling Arnold, but before he could react, Tua had already completed the transfer of 100 baht to Arnold's prompt pay account. "There. Got you, you little cheater. Consider it the admission fee for getting to watch you dance," Tua replied with a shrug, as though it were no big deal. Then he wandered over to a quiet corner, sat down, and continued browsing Pinterest while enjoying Arnold's performance. "I've already emailed the final casting script," Jack said over the phone to Gimme. "Got it. But on another note, where are you right now?" "I'm on my way to a speed dating event." "Do those things even work? Why don't you just get Tinder Gold instead?" "I'm already here. Mind your own business. If anything important comes up, let me know." Jack ended the call. He wasn't sure whether it was loneliness or the lingering effects of alcohol, but he'd decided to attend a speed dating event he'd seen recommended in a viral TikTok video. The event was being held at a bar. After arriving, a staff member escorted him to the registration table, where he was handed a name tag and a marker so he could write his name and stick it to his shirt. Once he'd finished, another staff member guided him to a section filled with chairs arranged face-to-face. The seat across from him was empty, waiting for fate to send him someone to meet. Meanwhile, another organizer explained the rules. Each round lasts 5 minutes. A bell will signal when it's time to switch. "Thank you," Jack replied. His heart pounded. For the first time in a long while, he found himself genuinely curious about what was about to happen. Soon, the bell rang, and an attractive man sat down across from him. He looked about Jack's age, perhaps a little older. Jack offered a faint smile. His first match seemed promising. "Hi, what's your name?" "I'm Tun." "I'm Jack. Nice to meet you. Would you be interested in a relationship with multiple people?" Jack's smile vanished. "You mean polygamy?" Instead of answering directly, Tun simply smiled. Jack hadn't expected a question like that. He didn't reject the idea outright, but he wasn't interested enough to respond. They exchanged a few more words until the bell rang, ending the round. Jack had imagined this would be enjoyable, but reality was nothing like he'd expected. Every person who sat across from him seemed to be looking for something casual or proposing unusual relationship arrangements he had no interest in. His excitement gradually faded, replaced by a growing desire for the evening to end. He couldn't help thinking he should have listened to Gimme and paid for Tinder Gold instead. At least then he might have been talking to someone who genuinely wanted a relationship. The bell rang again. Jack waved goodbye to a delicate-looking young man whose hobby was collecting trash from the streets. Watching the boy's slender figure disappear into the crowd, Jack let out a weary sigh. Then someone else took the seat across from him. "Hi," the newcomer said. "Hi, I'm." Jack took a breath to steady himself, but the words caught in his throat the instant he recognized the man sitting opposite him. He never expected to see him there. "Jack," the other man finished with a smile. "I'm Dean." The self-proclaimed Prince of Song watched him from across the table, a playful smile resting beneath his handsome face. Something about it immediately irritated Jack. Before Jack could say anything, Dean leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and smirked. "So you just broke up, and you're already looking for someone new?" He narrowed his eyes deliberately. Lonely boy. Jack hated those words with every fiber of his being. "My ex turned out to be a complete disaster," he replied sarcastically. "So I'm looking for someone better." "And have you found them?" Dean laughed. "Looks like you're out of luck. I'd bet no one here can compare to your ex." Dean's words sounded like a metaphor, but Jack instinctively swallowed hard. The truth was, he still remembered Dean's taste perfectly. It was a memory he could still almost feel on the tip of his tongue. "Who knows?" Jack shot back. "Maybe I'll find someone here who's better than you." "Don't be so sure of yourself, Dean." Sure. Dean folded his arms, trying not to laugh. "That's the funniest joke I've heard all day. But if that's what you believe, then good luck." He smiled confidently. "Still, let me tell you one thing. You won't find anyone you like more than me. Not as an actor, and certainly not as a partner." Just as Jack was about to stand, the bell rang to signal the end of the round. Dean did it deliberately. As he stood, his foot brushed against the front of Jack's pants, sending an involuntary shiver through him. With an expression of exaggerated boredom, the taller man stretched lazily, lifting the hem of his short shirt once or twice, as though he'd completely lost interest. His large eyes gleamed with open defiance before he waved goodbye with the most sarcastic smile imaginable. "Goodbye, lonely boy." Annoyed beyond words, Jack ripped the name tag from his chest as Dean walked away. Just like that, Jack's speed dating experience came to an end. Chapter 4. The Heart is Ageless. From the play The Bald Soprano by Eugene Ionesco. Ever since the audition notice was posted outside the Faculty of Arts building, students had been signing up with excitement. It was a rare opportunity to join the faculty's annual theater production, an event that always attracted media attention and countless talent scouts from the entertainment industry. Many now famous actors, models, and singers had launched their careers on that very stage. On the day of the audition, the Faculty of Arts buzzed with anticipation. Every hopeful contestant had prepared as thoroughly as possible to impress the director and the judging panel. Among them was Raffy, who, inspired by an upperclassman from the fashion department, arrived wearing an outfit from a Greco-Roman-inspired collection, hoping it would help him stand out for a leading role. "Seriously? When you told me you were auditioning, I didn't think you'd go for Romeo." Pat, Raffy's best friend, said in disbelief. He tried to persuade his friend to reconsider. "Why are you working so hard for this? You know Jack always ends up choosing Dean." "Not everything is the same as before, Pat. Things could be different now," Raffy replied as he fastened the cuffs of his shirt. "They broke up, remember? This is my chance." "A chance for what?" "To audition. For everything. For anything," Raffy answered with a faint smile as he checked his reflection one last time. "When an opportunity like this comes along, I'm not going to stand by and watch." Pat didn't fully understand what Raffy meant, but he supported him anyway, helping him get ready before time ran out. Inside the audition room, a long white table stretched across the front. Jack, the director, sat in the center, flanked by the producers and the rest of the judging panel. Since that morning, not a single contestant had managed to impress him. "Thank you. We'll let you know once the results are finalized," a staff member told the latest applicant after noticing Jack frown yet again. Once the candidate left, the staff member turned to Jack with an exasperated sigh. "The day's almost over. Aren't you going to choose someone you actually like?" Jack sighed, struggling to stay focused despite his exhaustion. "It's not that I don't like them. They just aren't the right fit." "And you still can't pick anyone? Why make this so complicated?" Jack rolled his eyes in annoyance, but before he could answer, the glass door swung open again. The very person they had been talking about walked in. "Dean's here," someone whispered. Dean stood tall and shot Jack a confident look, while Jack's expression remained unreadable. Dean then glanced calmly over the other contestants. "Good morning, everyone. I'm Dean Primasuda. I'm 1 meter 76 tall. I weigh 60 kilos, and I'm here to audition for the role of Romeo." Everyone knew he was joking. There wasn't a single person in the room who didn't recognize the famous influencer. He hardly needed an introduction. As for my personal history, there's no need to explain it, right? The director already knows everything about me, down to the last detail. Oh, the room erupted in laughter. When Jack continued staring at him without a word, Dean rested one hand on his hip. "So, are we going to start, or are we just going to keep staring at each other until 8 tonight? No need for a long speech. Let's begin. I'm the last contestant anyway, right? Wait, let me audition too. I'm still in time, aren't I?" Everyone turned toward the voice. It was Raffy, dressed in his eye-catching outfit. He walked confidently into the room and took his place beside Dean. Dean acknowledged his dramatic entrance, though he had no idea he was looking at a serious rival. "I'm Raffy Buranasorn. I'm 1 meter 87 tall. I weigh 60 kilos, Raffy said with a smile. "I'm here to audition for Romeo." The panel decided to have Dean and Raffy audition together. Both were given a special monologue written by Jack, along with 5 minutes to prepare. When the time was up, they stood in the center of the room on opposite sides of the director's table. A spotlight would shine on each of them in turn. "When you're ready, begin." Dean took a slow breath and focused himself. The moment he looked up, the spotlight illuminated him, and he became Romeo. Every movement, every expression, and the tremble in his voice captivated everyone present. If loving someone means sacrificing yourself and walking away so they can be happy, then that isn't true love. Love is walking forward together, building a new beginning side by side, sharing every hardship and every joy. "Romeo, you can't turn your back on me. You may live without everyone else, but you cannot abandon me just to preserve your own existence." Dean's performance was filled with heartbreak, pain, and vulnerability. When the spotlight faded, it shifted to Raffy. His Romeo carried the same emotional depth, but instead of despair, there was hope. His eyes were full of quiet determination. If you already know how it ends, then why choose the same path? You can choose something different, something that won't leave you disappointed. I won't force you to decide today, but I want you to know that I'll always stand beside you. As the spotlight dimmed once more, Jack straightened in his chair, deeply moved by both performances. Each had portrayed a completely different Romeo. One trembled with sorrow. The other smiled with hope. Jack picked up both application forms and placed them side by side in front of him. Then, under the final spotlight, Dean and Raffy spoke together. "Choose me, Romeo." The lights went out. The room exploded into applause and cheers. Both performances had captivated the audience. But the final decision belonged to Jack alone, and he could already feel the weight of that choice pressing heavily on him. Later that evening, at the Pink Pony Club, the group's favorite bar for unwinding after class or escaping stress, Jack still couldn't decide whether Dean or Raffy should play the lead Romeo. "This is driving me crazy. I honestly don't know who to choose," Jack admitted while his friends tried to help. Pat offered a bold suggestion. "If you can't decide, let them both play Romeo. What's wrong with having two Romeos?" Jack shook his head. "It doesn't work like that. Dean and Raffy's acting styles are too similar. They're both perfect for the lead Romeo, but neither of them fits the secondary Romeo. What about the second Romeo? Have you found anyone for that role?" Kim, the producer, asked. "Not yet. That's the real problem," Jack sighed. Just then, another round of beer was placed on the table by a handsome waiter they hadn't ordered from. Everyone looked confused until the bar's owner approached. "This round's on me, boys. You all looked so stressed when you walked in." "Thanks, Fi," Kim said gratefully. The flamboyant owner, Punk, smiled before turning to Jack. "So, your boyfriend still hasn't shown up?" "Boyfriend?" Jack nearly spat out his beer. Pat immediately panicked. "Ex-boyfriend, Fi? They broke up ages ago." "Really? I didn't know." Punk shrugged. "Still, they get along so well. They have that classic exes who'll definitely get back together energy. You'll see. They'll be together again before long." She burst into laughter and walked away, leaving Jack annoyed while everyone else laughed. Kim and Pat exchanged amused glances. If you don't want people bringing Dean up all the time, Jack, you need to move on, Kim said. And as long as you're stuck on Dean like you're still dating him, nobody else will come near you, Pat added. Give yourself a chance to find someone new. Jack let his friends continue enjoying themselves while he sat quietly, lost in thought. Were they right? Had he really been trapped in the past all this time? Hey, Jack, why are you sitting here by yourself? Raffy appeared with a beer in hand, pulling Jack out of his thoughts. What about you? Are you here alone too? Jack asked. I'm waiting for my friends. They haven't arrived yet. Mind if I sit down? If you're here to ask about the audition, I still haven't made my decision. Jack replied with a knowing smile. So, how did I do? Do you think I was good? Raffy asked, unable to hide his excitement. You were great. Very natural. I really liked your performance, Jack answered honestly. Raffy's face lit up. Can I record you saying that? That's the best compliment I've ever gotten. Don't get carried away. Jack laughed, lightly tapping him on the head. Taking advantage of the moment, Raffy gently held Jack's hand and leaned closer. I'd love to share the stage with someone as talented as you. It would be an honor to be your muse. The atmosphere between them grew warm, almost intimate, until, bang, a loud thud shattered the moment. Dean stood beside them with a beer in hand, casually refilling his glass from Jack's pitcher while wearing a smug grin. What happened? Did all your friends suddenly fly off to Guatemala, so you conveniently ended up here all alone? Dean asked sarcastically, clearly irritated by what he'd interrupted. I was waiting for my friends and happened to see Jack sitting alone, Raffy replied with a shrug, refusing to back down. What a shame we've never acted together. It'd be amazing to share the stage with you. Though, of course, I'd be the lead while you'd be part of the ensemble. Dean, Jack interrupted, trying to stop him. But Raffy raised a hand. It's fine. He looked at Jack with an earnest smile. Jack, you're my idol. Everything you've achieved, I want to achieve too. He stood up. My friends just got here. See you later, Jack. Dean watched him leave with open hostility. Jack noticed. You went too far, Dean. Raffy didn't do anything to you. That guy's been chasing you since first year, and now he's still at it in fourth year, Dean said, rolling his eyes. Then he smiled provocatively. But back then, you chose me, didn't you, lonely boy? It's not that I can't choose, Jack replied calmly. If Raffy really is interested, it's not too late. If he joins my play, we'll have plenty of time to get closer. Anything can happen, don't you think? Dean stared at him. So you're giving him the lead role? Who knows? Jack replied with a shrug. Maybe the audience wants to see something new. The old story has gotten stale. With that, Jack walked away, leaving Dean standing there alone, furious. Dean slammed his backpack onto the floor in frustration. This time, winning the lead role clearly wouldn't be as easy as he'd expected. He silently vowed to do whatever it took to make sure he wouldn't become Jack's second choice. Just then, he spotted Pat and walked straight toward him. Seeing Dean approach, Pat shivered. There was no escaping now. Jack's about to decide, isn't he? Dean asked in a tone that sounded more like an interrogation. Honestly, Pat hesitated. Jack really does have a difficult decision this time. Raffy's improved a lot. Seriously? Raffy? Dean looked genuinely offended. Between the two of us, isn't it obvious who's more talented? I want everyone watching to be completely speechless, unable to take their eyes off me. I'm not saying you aren't talented, Pat explained carefully, but Jack might be worried you'll make the whole production fall apart again, like last time. The words slipped out before Pat could stop them. Dean fell silent. What had happened during the previous production had been serious. Even so, should one mistake really outweigh his talent? Sensing the growing tension, Pat hurriedly changed the subject. But there's an even bigger problem. They still haven't found anyone suitable for the other Romeo. Dean lifted his glass for another drink, only to discover it contained nothing but melting ice. Not wanting to return to the table, he signaled for another beer from a passing waiter. That was when he noticed a familiar face entertaining a group of customers. Isn't that Arnold? Pat asked in surprise. Does he work here now? Yeah. Looks like he finally accepted the job, Dean replied flatly, still irritated by their earlier conversation. The owner had been trying to hire him for ages. Dean glanced sideways at Pat. Watching Arnold energetically entertain the customers with dance-like movements, Dean couldn't help smirking. Whoever ends up with Arnold is definitely going to be satisfied, don't you think? Really, if you like him, then stop wasting time. Someone else could snatch him away at any moment. Pat said nothing. He simply watched Arnold from the corner of his eye as the handsome waiter effortlessly charmed every customer around him. Slowly, Pat bit his lip. Maybe Dean was right. Maybe it really was time to make a move. Before it was too late. Chapter 5. Relish the Road. From the play Top Dog/Underdog by Susan Laurie Parks. Raffy slipped away to smoke a cigarette in a spot far from the crowd. He was irritated as he thought about Jack's indecisive attitude. Jack still hadn't chosen the lead actor for the faculty's play. But as long as Jack hadn't made a final decision, Raffy knew he still had a chance to claim the role of Romeo. He was willing to do whatever it took to win Jack's heart, no matter how dangerous or risky the method might be. Well, meeting again. A voice interrupted his thoughts. Raffy turned and saw Rome, one eyebrow raised, wearing a provocative smile. What? Are you following me or something? Raffy said irritably. If you're planning to try anything, just stop. I'm not going to fall for it. You're wasting your time. Following you? I'm the one working the music here, Rome replied, showing off a backpack filled with DJ equipment. Right now, you're the one standing in my space. Raffy scowled but stepped away from the DJ counter where he had been leaning while smoking. Rome glanced at him before setting up his DJ booth with swift, practiced movements. Raffy watched him for a moment before speaking again. You don't have to greet me every time you see me. What happened between us was a one-night thing. We don't need to be friends. Really? Am I that bad that you don't want anyone to know? Rome shot back with a mocking smile. I don't think so. That night was incredible, admit it. You're the one who's hooked on me. Don't flatter yourself, Raffy replied coldly. You're out of my league. That night only happened because you were in the right place at the right time, when I happened to be in the mood. Oh, really? Amused, Rome leaned over the DJ counter and whispered near Raffy's ear. So when will you be in the mood again? How about now? There's plenty of room on this counter, you know. My little one misses your mouth. Raffy was about to snap back with an insult when he noticed Jack approaching. He instantly replaced his expression with a bright smile, even though Jack wasn't heading toward him. Jack greeted Rome with a fist bump. Hey man. What's up, Jack? Rome replied, returning the gesture. Raffy froze. He hadn't expected them to know each other, much less seem so close. Haven't seen you around the bar much lately, Rome said. I've been busy with the faculty play, Jack explained. I bet you're exhausted. This guy's tough to deal with, Rome said, glancing sideways at Raffy, who stayed silent. If you're not seeing anyone, I've got a friend who's interested. People say he's quite a catch. Yeah, very funny. Jack laughed. I'm not looking for a relationship right now. Not looking? A romantic like you? Impossible, Rome teased. Trust me. Better put out your cigarette. With that, Jack walked away, leaving Raffy and Rome alone once more. The bar's music slowly faded, replaced by the electronic beats Rome began mixing, drawing cheers from the EDM lovers in the crowd. Raffy, still unsettled, couldn't hold back any longer. Since when have you and Jack been friends? What? Rome shouted while adjusting his headphones. Say that again. Are you friends with Jack? Why didn't I know about it? And why would I go around telling you? Rome replied with a sly grin, raising his voice over the music. What? Are you afraid Jack might find out about us? Don't you dare tell Jack anything, idiot. Rome narrowed his eyes, a calculating smile spreading across his face. I can't promise that. If I get really drunk someday, I might let it slip. Got anything to negotiate with? Are you blackmailing me? Furious, Raffy slammed his hand onto the counter, accidentally knocking over a pitcher of beer. It splashed across Rome's expensive electronic equipment. The music cut out instantly, and Rome exploded in anger, revealing a completely different side from the easygoing DJ he'd been only moments before. Damn it, Raffy flinched. He had never seen Rome this angry. I didn't mean to. I'll take responsibility, he said quickly. Oh, you definitely will. Rome growled, fixing him with a murderous glare. Rome grabbed his laptop and hurriedly played a pre-mixed track to save the situation. Although the atmosphere in the bar soon returned to normal, he didn't say another word to Raffy. Meanwhile, Tua wandered through the bar looking for Jack, who had already left with someone he'd met before midnight. As always, Tua was the one who ended up carrying Timmy, completely drunk, back home. Timmy always drank without limits, going from tipsy to completely wasted in no time. Don't throw up in here, Timmy. If you're going to puke, do it outside, Tua said, supporting his weight. I'm not gonna puke, Timmy mumbled, barely able to keep his eyes open. If I puke, I'll die. You don't have to try so hard to look sexy when you're this drunk, Tua joked as he dragged him toward the exit. I already called a taxi. It's waiting. Just then, Arnold, who had gone to fetch more drinks on Punk's orders, the bar's owner, noticed the state Tua and Timmy were in. He set everything aside and hurried over to help, calm and steady. Tua couldn't help smiling in admiration, though he quickly tried to compose himself when Arnold looked his way. Where did all your friends go? Arnold asked. Who knows where they disappeared to? Tua replied with a confused shrug. Timmy's a mess, so I'm taking him home. The taxi's already here. You're always the one taking care of everyone, huh? Arnold said with admiration. His words made Tua feel as if he were floating, though he secretly pinched his own arm to stay grounded. Ow, that hurts. Timmy slurred in confusion. Concerned, Arnold immediately checked on Timmy, but Tua took the opportunity to change the subject with a smile. Sorry I didn't say hi earlier. You looked really busy. I didn't know you worked here. It's okay. I'm just earning some extra money. I need it, Arnold explained. Really? Tua's eyes lit up as an idea crossed his mind. He looked Arnold over carefully, handsome, athletic, with well-defined muscles and a natural stage presence. He was perfect for the theater, with the charisma and physicality to command an audience. Without thinking any further, Tua blurted out the idea. Would you like to act in the faculty play? Arnold laughed softly, as though it were a joke. Me? I'm just a waiter. I've never acted before. But you'd be perfect as Romeo. The main Romeo, like in Romeo and Juliet, but in a modern version, like Baz Luhrmann's. It's a fresh take, not cheesy at all. You'd be perfect. Tua kept talking, noticing a flicker of interest in Arnold's eyes despite his lingering doubt. Knowing Arnold needed money, Tua saw his chance. Pretending to think it over, he added, If you do it, you'll get paid. I'm not sure exactly how much, but I think it'll be around 20,000. That much? Arnold exclaimed in surprise. Sure. Everyone gets paid something, Tua assured him, noticing the hesitation on his face. With a serious expression, he nodded to reinforce the offer. I don't know if I can do it, Arnold admitted honestly. Of course you can. You're from the acting department, even if you're serving tables right now. At heart, you're an actor, and a very talented one. Thanks. I'll think about it, Arnold said. Perfect, Tua exclaimed. Your taxi's here, Arnold said, pointing toward the driver who had just pulled up outside the bar. You can let go of Timmy. I'll help him into the cab. Smiling, Tua watched Arnold lift Timmy effortlessly. A spark of excitement stirred inside him as he realized his chance to get closer to Arnold was beginning to take shape. If he could convince him, everything would fall into place. As for the lie about the 20,000, it wasn't a big deal. Tua had far more than that in his bank account. In Jack's loft-style condominium, decorated with minimalist New York flair, yet still showing the unmistakable signs of everyday life, Jack reclined on the living room sofa. Behind him, a massive window overlooked Bangkok's glittering night skyline. In front of him, an attractive young man he'd met at the Pink Pony Club slowly unbuttoned his shirt while gazing at Jack with desire-filled eyes. Once the shirt slipped from his shoulders, the young man leaned closer to undo Jack's buttons, brushing gentle kisses across the well-defined muscles of his chest, evidence of countless hours in the gym. Jack closed his eyes, surrendering to the sensation. Suddenly, the young man pulled away, startled by the sound of the door opening. Jack opened his eyes and saw Dean standing there, having barged into the apartment. His face was flushed, and he was obviously drunk, swaying as he laughed with a mix of mischief and provocation. Dean, how did you get into my place? Jack shouted angrily. It wasn't hard. You're still using my birthday as your password, Dean replied with a wicked grin, completely ignoring Jack's companion. Sorry to interrupt, buddy, but did you know Jack and I already did it on this very sofa? It's not very comfortable, but it's fun. If you want to keep going, be my guest. Just remember, no matter how much he enjoys you, you'll only ever be a substitute for what he feels for me. Dean, you're drunk. Go home, Jack shouted. Clearly uncomfortable, the young man from the bar hurriedly gathered his clothes from the floor. I don't know what's going on between you two, but I'm leaving. I don't want any part of this. Good choice. But, Dean said casually, waving. Furious, Jack apologized to the young man, and walked him to the door. When he returned, Dean was sprawled across the sofa, shamelessly occupying his spot. What do you want? If you're here to take something of mine, do it and get out. How cruel, little loner, Dean said with a grin as he watched his ex simmer with anger. It's so late. Can't I stay and sleep with you? No. Why don't you go home with one of the guys from the bar? They're all weird. They talk about boring things, or they smell bad. Dean replied with a grimace. Tonight, I missed you more. Jack almost fell for it, but he stopped himself. Of course, you want the role of Romeo so badly you're willing to do anything. I want both things, the role of Romeo and you, Dean said, locking eyes with him. You know that role is mine. I don't need to beg or audition. You always chose me, didn't you? You said I was the best actor for you. That was before, Jack shot back. So what? Just because we broke up, you can ignore my talent now. Dean challenged. Dean unbuckled his belt and tossed it aside before quickly stripping off his pants. Slowly, he lifted one leg, exposing pale skin and enticing curves as he slid his underwear down with movements that were practically an invitation. Admit it, Jack. Even if we broke up, I'm still your number one actor. And I'm still the one who tastes the best. Jack couldn't resist any longer. He lunged forward, pinning Dean against the sofa as he finally gave in. Dean smiled softly and offered him a kiss, one Jack instinctively avoided. Something was about to happen, but it wouldn't be the same as before. You're just my ex, Jack murmured. Whatever you say, Dean whispered into Jack's ear, making him shiver. Little loner. Jack stopped resisting. He took control, devouring Dean with passion as he lifted him into his arms and reconnected with him in a way they both knew all too well. Their bodies understood each other far too perfectly. Chapter 6. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. J. M. Singh, the playboy of the Western world. Have you ever tried to win someone over before? The question echoed through the audition room without any context. Someone who had never acted before might have been confused, but Arnold simply looked toward the director. I've tried once or twice, but I'm usually not the one who makes the first move. I prefer it when other people come to me. The casting team nodded in unison. Everyone knew that real-life experience could help an actor stand out. Hearing Arnold's answer, Jack smiled broadly and quietly filed away every important detail. So you've never really chased after someone? Since the first approach hadn't produced the reaction he wanted, Jack decided to try something different. All right, let's do it again. This time, don't be so stiff. Improvise a little and show me how you'd act if you were trying to win someone over. Then who am I supposed to win over? Timmy, for example. Are you crazy, Jack? Everyone knows I'm terrible at acting. This is going to turn into a comedy. Pick someone else. Timmy's protest echoed through the room, making everyone burst into laughter and easing the tension. Jack looked around for another volunteer. When his eyes landed on Tua, he immediately waved him over. Tua, come here. Improvise with Arnold. What? Me? Tua pointed at himself in confusion, but the director nodded firmly. Reluctantly, Tua stood up and walked over to Arnold. Arnold looked visibly relieved to have Tua as his partner. He gave him a grateful smile for agreeing to help. Then Jack gave his next instruction. Arnold, do whatever it takes to make Tua fall for you. Hold his hand, touch his arm, make any bold move you want. Your goal is to melt his heart. Understood. Would the lead really fall for that so easily? Arnold let out a quiet sigh. There wasn't a trace of confidence on his face, only obvious nervousness. Would you rather switch partners? Maybe use a woman instead. It doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. Two is perfect. Out of everyone here, you're the most comfortable with him. Arnold stepped closer and closed his eyes, gathering his thoughts. His fingers hovered hesitantly near Tua's face, revealing an affection he hadn't yet spoken aloud. Then he opened his eyes. The sudden change in his expression caught Tua completely off guard, as though something sacred had just begun. How long have we been friends? Even his voice had changed. He had become someone infinitely more charming. 3 years. This is our 4th, Tua answered smoothly, grounding the improvisation in reality. And do you remember how many times you've ridden on my motorcycle? Oh, come on. Who would keep count? 42 times. Tua whipped his head toward him. Damn, you actually counted? I can barely remember my own birthday. Because it matters to me. That's why I remember. A faint blush spread across Tua's face. This time, it wasn't acting. Still immersed in his role, Arnold looked at him with quiet affection before gently patting his head with his large hand. Tua quickly looked away as Arnold stepped even closer. You should have realized by now. I don't let anyone else ride my bike. He reached for Tua's hand and held it firmly. That only made Tua even more flustered. He didn't know how to respond, and his trembling lips somehow made him look even more endearing. Whispers of admiration spread throughout the room as everyone witnessed the undeniable chemistry between them. I've wanted to say this for a long time. I just never knew when I'd get the chance. Arnold hesitated, but the shyness in his eyes only made his confession more sincere. I like you, Tua. And now, what do you think of me? Every word echoed inside Tua's mind. Without meaning to, an answer began forming on the tip of his tongue, as though his heart had already decided for him. Arnold looked at him with hopeful eyes, silently waiting. What was he supposed to say? Before the words could leave his lips, Arnold suddenly stepped back. The actors exchanged eager glances. One look at Jack's face was enough. He had already found the actor he wanted. With so much buzz surrounding the students of the Faculty of Dramatic Arts, the cast announcement for the faculty play was bound to become a major event. The production team had prepared a massive vinyl banner to hang in front of the faculty building, right where students passed by every day. Anyone walking through the area would see it, creating excitement and spreading the news throughout the university. The acting students who already knew about the announcement gathered in front of the building, while students from other departments stopped to watch out of curiosity. As the first banner was prepared, everyone raised their phones to record videos and take pictures. The chatter gradually faded, replaced by excited silence. Casting announcement for the faculty play, Romeo and Romeo. The backstage crew gave the signal. Then, the crowd erupted. A huge banner bearing Arnold's face was unveiled before everyone. Congratulations to Arnold, who will be playing Romeo A. Cheers and applause exploded throughout the crowd. Arnold stood frozen in disbelief. People surrounded him with congratulations, but he barely noticed. Instead, his eyes searched for one person. The moment he spotted Tua, he ran over and wrapped him in a tight hug. Without thinking, Tua rested his head against Arnold's chest and patted him on the back. Congratulations, my friend. See, I told you that you could do it. Thank you. Really. Arnold tightened his embrace. Thank you for believing in me. After the excitement settled, there was still one final lead role left to announce. Anticipation swept across the Faculty of Dramatic Arts once again. When the second banner was revealed, Dean was standing nearby, casually sipping bubble milk tea behind a pair of dark sunglasses. He wasn't even paying attention. Before he realized what had happened, congratulations poured in from every direction. Congratulations to Dean, who will be playing Romeo B. Amid the cheers celebrating both lead actors, Raffy clenched his fists in humiliation. Ignoring the friend trying to comfort him, he pushed through the crowd and headed for the exit. Before he could leave, however, Jack stepped in front of him. Don't take it the wrong way, Raffy, Jack said gently after noticing his expression. I still want you in the play. How about playing Mercutio? He's Romeo's closest friend. Despite Jack's good intentions, the words landed like a punch to the stomach. In the end, Raffy simply nodded coldly. Thanks, Jack. Looks like you found someone more talented for the role. With that, he brushed past Jack with his shoulder and walked away. Jack watched him leave, feeling a stab of guilt for having unintentionally created such resentment. He never noticed someone else quietly observing everything from a distance. As Romeo and Romeo became the center of attention, Raffy folded his arms and muttered under his breath. This production was far more important than it appeared. Dean was happy to be cast as Romeo. Deep down, though, he wasn't surprised. He had always believed Jack would choose him. It wasn't just because he and Arnold had incredible chemistry. It was because, no matter what, Jack couldn't deny that Dean was one of the most talented actors in the faculty. Or maybe the real reason was that Jack still hadn't forgotten his ex. The thought suddenly crossed Dean's mind. He looked toward the director and decided he should call to thank him properly. But the moment he dialed, Jack rejected the call without hesitation. Curious, Dean opened Jack's Instagram. 15 minutes earlier, Jack had posted a story showing a sunset sky. Dean recognized the location immediately. It was the rooftop cinema near the university that specialized in award-winning and independent films from around the world. Jack had often taken him there back when they were dating. Even when he goes to the movies, he still chooses the same place. Without another thought, Dean hailed a taxi and headed there to thank Jack in person. La La Land had always been Jack's favorite movie. When he heard the rooftop cinema was showing it again, there was no way he was going to miss the chance. With a shoulder bag slung across his body, the young director whistled cheerfully while waiting for the screening to begin in another 30 minutes. For him, tonight was a celebration. He had finally found the perfect cast for his play. Lost in a pleasant daydream, he imagined Romeo and Romeo becoming a huge success, eager to share his vision of love with everyone. The rooftop breeze blew across his face, prompting him to close his eyes. The warm evening wind mixed with the lively chatter of movie lovers gradually filling the venue. His smile disappeared the instant he opened his eyes. Dean stood only a short distance away, wearing a mischievous grin. Dean laughed at Jack's stunned expression, as though he had just become the leading man in one of his own films. Peering over his designer sunglasses, he smiled. Well, what a coincidence. A coincidence? Yeah, right. Jack sighed, instantly losing his good mood. What are you doing following me? Following you? I came to watch my movie. Dean held up the ticket in his hand. Why? Isn't this our favorite movie? It's my favorite movie. Not ours. The sunglasses Dean wore had been an anniversary gift they bought together while they were dating. Judging by Jack's expression, Dean knew he'd noticed. Thanks for casting me in this year's play. Just don't ruin it like last time. Jack coughed awkwardly as the memory resurfaced. And let's be clear. I chose you because of your talent, not because you're my ex. Really? Dean rolled his eyes with obvious sarcasm. You're a terrible liar. But fine. I'll pretend to believe you. Excuse me. An attractive man suddenly stepped between them. Dean instinctively moved closer to Jack, but the newcomer barely acknowledged his existence. Did you come alone too, Jack? Dean stood there in disbelief. Was he invisible? The man was clearly ignoring him on purpose. Before Dean could speak, Jack answered first. Yeah, Ice. Did you come alone too? Dean folded his arms. What a sweet voice, idiot. Yeah, I came by myself. Want to sit together when the movie starts? Maybe we can grab something afterward. Sure. Jack agreed immediately. See you at the entrance, Ice. Ice smiled, waved, and walked away. Dean watched him leave with a strange sense of pity. Are you really that desperate? You don't even realize what's happening. Who's that? Why do you care? I want to know. Dean refused to let it go. Someone new. Jack smiled with satisfaction, clearly enjoying Dean's irritation. Romeo always finds his Juliet, doesn't he? Dean ground his teeth together as he watched Jack casually walk away, adjusting his sunglasses while already plotting something. We'll see who the real Romeo is. When the staff announced that the screening would begin shortly, Dean hurried into the restroom ahead of everyone else. He didn't actually need to use it. He was simply preparing his plan. The real Romeo casually pretended to wash his hands in front of the mirror. It wasn't long before Jack's so-called Romeo walked in carrying a drink. Dean immediately noticed the bright red cup. It was identical to his own. Perfect. Ice casually set the drink on the counter while washing his hands. The instant he looked away, Dean made his move. He grabbed the cup and, with one quick motion, poured the bright red drink all over Ice's spotless white shirt. Shit. What the hell? Dean immediately activated his A+ acting skills. His eyes filled with tears as he apologized over and over, desperately trying to wipe away the stain. Of course, he only made it worse. Exactly as planned. I'm so sorry. Really, I think I bumped it by accident. Let me pay for the dry cleaning. Ice looked ready to explode. But seeing Dean's guilty expression, he decided not to make a scene. Naturally, it was all part of Dean's performance. In the end, Ice could only blame his own terrible luck. Damn it, what a disaster. The fake Romeo tossed the empty cup into the trash with a dull thud. After making one last hopeless attempt to clean the stain, he finally gave up and left. His plans to watch the movie, and perhaps spend the evening with Jack, had been completely ruined. Dean claimed victory with a technique straight out of Acting 101, Fundamentals of Performance. Looking at his reflection in the mirror, Dean smiled smugly. He wiped away a fake tear, gave himself a thumbs up, and headed off to buy popcorn and soda before the movie began. The screening started just as the sun disappeared beyond the horizon. The rooftop was alive with warmth and laughter. Groups of friends filled the seats together, while couples cuddled close beneath the evening sky. It was a charming scene. Meanwhile, Jack searched the crowd for the person he'd planned to sit with, completely unaware that his would-be Romeo had already gone home to change clothes. "Sit with me." Dean smiled in satisfaction when he saw Jack hesitate. His arms were full of popcorn and drinks. Although he felt a tiny bit sorry for his ex, teasing him was simply too entertaining. He exaggeratedly looked around. "See? I'm the only one here. Come on. The movie's about to start. There's no room here. Go sit somewhere else." "Where?" Dean deliberately provoked him. "I don't see anyone. He'll be here." "Oh, come on. No one's coming. Help me carry these already." Jack sighed in defeat. He took the snacks and drinks from Dean and placed them beside the seat. Even then, his eyes continued scanning the crowd. Watching him, Dean quietly laughed to himself. The real Romeo settled into the seat beside Jack. Then he gently reached out and touched his hand. Jack flinched, like a cat soothed by its owner's gentle touch. "Stay and watch the movie with me." Dean's soft voice blended with the music beginning to play. "Shouldn't your favorite movie be watched with your favorite ex?" Jack let out one final sigh. Without another word, the two of them were drawn into the world of the film. Maybe it was simply habit after spending so much time together. Or maybe it was because they both knew the story by heart. Chapter 7. There is no trusting appearances. Richard B. Sheridan, The School for Scandal. Whenever Raffy needed to be alone, he escaped to the university pool. No phone calls, no thinking, no feeling, just swimming nonstop until his body gave out. The disappointment of not being cast in the lead role for the faculty play drove him back into the water once again, using it as an outlet for his emotions. He had been swimming for hours, showing no sign of getting out. Moving in a steady freestyle, he followed the black line along the bottom of the pool. Every time he reached the tiled wall, he pushed off and swam back at the same pace, repeating the cycle over and over. Whenever exhaustion caught up with him, he rested briefly before diving back in, as though he had no intention of stopping. But the human body had its limits. Raffy's arms were too exhausted to keep going. He decided he would stop when he reached the next wall. As he lifted his head above the water, he spotted a tall figure standing at the edge of the pool, watching him. Pulling off his goggles, he recognized Rome. "Daydreaming again?" Raffy's voice came out hoarse from exertion as he struggled to catch his breath. "What do you want?" "I want something." "Did you forget that you owe me?" Raffy sighed and pulled himself out of the pool, revealing a lean, well-defined body. Rome looked quietly satisfied as he took in the sight of someone he had once shared such intimacy with. "I didn't forget. I already told you I'd take responsibility." "Then do it now." "Now." Wearing nothing but a small swimsuit, Raffy went pale, convinced Rome meant something indecent. Fortunately, that wasn't what Rome had in mind, at least not this time. "Get dressed, and come with me to buy DJ equipment." The relief on Raffy's face was unmistakable, though he still looked confused. "Why do I have to go?" "Just use my money and buy it yourself." "Because I don't trust you to deal with it properly. You've been making excuses not to work for days. Come with me. It'll be faster," Rome said with a sly grin. "Or were you just talking big about taking responsibility?" "Of course I'm serious." Raffy refused to be looked down on. He searched for an excuse to refuse, but eventually realized there wasn't one. Besides, he didn't have anything better to do. "So," Rome prompted. Raffy rubbed the water from his face and accepted his fate with reluctant resignation. "Just do it, Raffy. If you keep sulking over losing the lead role, you'll never move forward." Rome chuckled as they stood inside the music equipment store. Raffy glanced around before speaking in an utterly unenthusiastic tone. "What exactly do you expect me to do? Am I supposed to be impressed or something? Don't you want to pay for something better? I only asked you to come so we could talk." Already irritated, Raffy finally let out what had really been bothering him. "Damn it. Losing the lead role was bad enough, and then Jack offered me a supporting role. But you still got a part, didn't you? It's not that big a deal." "Easy for you to say." Raffy snapped impatiently as he stared at the rows of DJ equipment. "Just hurry up already. They all look the same. Pick one so I can leave. This is such a waste of time." Even after being scolded, Rome remained unfazed. He simply shrugged. "Just try choosing something, Raffy. Stop being difficult. What would you buy?" "How the hell should I know?" Raffy finally exploded. "They're all the same. Just pick something, the most expensive one. Use your damn brain." Rome nodded, taking that as the final decision. He called over a clerk and asked to test one of the newer models. It was more expensive and more advanced than the equipment Raffy had broken before. Rome skillfully helped set it up, then began pressing buttons, sending waves of music through the speakers. His relaxed confidence as he worked left Raffy staring in genuine admiration. "You're actually pretty good. Who would have thought? You always look like you're just wasting your time." Rome laughed, and their eyes met by accident. The sincere admiration in Raffy's expression filled him with an unexpected sense of pride. "This one," Raffy decided. "Ma'am, we'll take it. You accept cards, right?" The shop owner, a kind-looking older woman, approached to help. Before she could say anything, she suddenly recognized Raffy. "My goodness, you're Rancheli's son, aren't you?" Her eyes lit up as she excitedly pulled out her phone and opened a social media app. Raffy rolled his eyes but remained polite. "Yes, she's my mother." "Oh, that's wonderful." She nudged one of her employees. "I've been a fan of your mother ever since Love and Deception. That was before you were even born." "I'll let her know. Can I take a picture with you?" Without waiting for permission, the owner handed her phone to an employee and wrapped Raffy in a hug as though he were her own grandson. Feeling awkward but resigned, Raffy smiled for the photo while Rome stood nearby laughing. "I'll give you a 10% discount." "No," the owner said. "Tell your mother you shopped here." "Thank you." Raffy immediately took the opportunity to escape. "Thank you," Rome mimicked in a teasing voice. "Must be nice being the child of a celebrity." "Shut up." Just then, Raffy's phone vibrated. The message that appeared instantly wiped the expression from his face. Rome tried to glance at the screen, curious who had texted him, but Raffy quickly slipped the phone into his pocket before he could see. "Are we done? I want to leave." His gloomy mood had already returned. Meanwhile, Jack buried himself in preparations for directing the play. Every spare moment was spent rereading the script, underlining important lines, and analyzing each character's personality. Everyone in the department knew that if Jack disappeared, he was probably hiding in the rehearsal room, the quietest and most private place available. Green highlighter covered nearly every page of the script. His notes filled the margins until there was hardly any blank space left. A knock sounded at the door. Before Jack could answer, someone walked in. He looked up and saw Billy, a classmate who had volunteered to handle the play's sound. "What's up, Billy?" "I was about to head home, but I wanted to talk to you about the sound," Billy said. The nervous look on his face told Jack immediately that something was wrong. "What happened?" "I'm dropping out of the program." "What? What?" "I'm going to focus on my band full-time," Billy admitted. "I've been juggling too many things lately and haven't had time to study. I've already failed several classes. I think it's better to step away and take music seriously. But you're only 1 year away from graduating. I've made up my mind. The opportunity is here, and I don't want to regret letting it pass." Another knock interrupted them. This time it was Raffy, waiting politely outside instead of barging in. Jack didn't want to keep him waiting, but he also couldn't end the conversation without trying one last time. Billy lowered his head apologetically. "I'm sorry for leaving you without a sound technician." "You haven't left me hanging. We haven't even started yet," Jack said honestly. "Can't you think about it a little longer? Forget the play. I just want you to graduate with the rest of us." For a brief moment, uncertainty flickered across Billy's face. Then it disappeared. "I really have to go. Good luck, Jack." Billy left. A moment later, Raffy stepped inside. "What was that about?" Jack rubbed his temples and let out a weary sigh before deciding to be straightforward. "You got my message, right? Are you hesitating because it's a supporting role?" Jack continued before Raffy could answer. "Not just anyone can play Mercutio. There are no insignificant characters in this production. I really want you for the part. You already proved at the audition that you can do it. Trust yourself. Trust me. You won't regret being in the play I'm directing." Raffy hesitated. The bitterness of losing the role of Romeo slowly began to fade. After struggling with himself for a few moments, he finally nodded. "All right, I'll do it." Jack let out a long breath of relief. "Thank you, Raffy. I thought I'd have to beg you even more." "It wasn't your speech, idiot." Raffy smiled for the first time that day. "It's because you believed in me." The rehearsal room door suddenly swung open. Dean walked in wearing his usual cold, unreadable expression. Raffy sighed. He had no desire to argue with the self-proclaimed prince of drama, especially after finally making peace with Jack. "If you're free later, I'll buy you a soda." "I'll buy you a whole meal," Jack laughed. "Thanks again. I'll send you the script later." Raffy said goodbye and walked out without acknowledging Dean. As he stepped through the doorway, Dean's sarcastic voice followed him. So the celebrity's son is desperate enough to accept free food now? He even settled for a supporting role. Sell that story to the trolls, and it'll go viral. Can you stop mixing personal issues with work? Raffy shot back. And you're the one saying that. Jack ignored Dean's comment and let out another frustrated sigh. Why does he always have to be so difficult? Relax, Dean said dismissively. I just came to pick up a few things. I'm leaving. I'm not stressed. You're always stressed. Dean noticed Jack pulling a cigarette case from his jacket. What's that? Smoking again? Jack didn't answer. He simply took out a cigarette and held it between his fingers. Billy just came to tell me he's dropping out to focus on his band. Now I've lost my sound technician. So, Dean replied calmly, sounding completely unsurprised. You should be happy for him. He's chasing his dream. I picked the best people for this production. Don't you get it? I do. Dean rolled his eyes. But Billy already made his decision. You can't stop him. Quit complaining and find someone else. It's not that hard. You make it sound easy. Where am I supposed to find someone? If you'd open your mind for once, you'd realize there are plenty of talented people around you. You just don't know how to trust anyone. Dean crossed his arms, thinking for only a moment before offering a name. What about Rome? What? Rome? Your little brother. Dean smiled. He's really good. His knowledge of music is practically genius level, and his taste is excellent. He meets every requirement a perfectionist like you could ask for. Jack wasn't thrilled by how enthusiastically Dean praised Rome. Still, everything he said was true. Rome was incredibly talented, no matter how carefree he appeared. I'm not exactly eager to work with him. Rome's too close to everything. I don't want unnecessary complications. Dean burst into laughter so suddenly that Jack flinched. Still smiling, Dean stepped closer, clicked his tongue, and looked at Jack with an expression that mixed amusement with unmistakable affection. Weren't you the one who said work and personal matters should stay separate? Jack had no answer. Dean opened a tin of menthol balm, inhaled deeply, then spun theatrically on his heel and walked out of the rehearsal room, leaving Jack alone. Chapter 8. As if someone is watching over you. From the text by Annie Baker. Timmy and Tua joined forces to organize an opening party at Tua's house, insisting that everyone attend so they could have fun together. They believed it would be the perfect way to break the ice, making it easier for everyone to speak openly and solve problems during rehearsals without awkwardness. That way, the faculty play could move forward smoothly from start to finish. Timmy took charge of the entertainment, setting up speakers and a television in the front yard for karaoke. Tua handled the food, preparing barbecue and shabu-shabu. Dean helped by bringing snacks and alcoholic drinks. At that moment, Dean was out shopping with Jack, his ex-boyfriend. Everyone secretly wondered whether the two of them would actually come back with the beer and liquor, or end up killing each other first. Will they really kill each other? Tua had been worrying about it all day. Arnold was one of the first to arrive. He looked a little tense since he didn't know many people, but fortunately Tua was there to keep him company. As Tua grilled meat for the friends who would soon be arriving, a 1,000 baht bill suddenly appeared in front of him. He looked up in surprise at Arnold. What's this for? I want to help, the play's lead actor said. Honestly, I should be paying more. It's my way of thanking you for going to the audition with me. You don't have to. Tua gently pushed Arnold's hand back. Keep your money. You've been working so hard that you're exhausted. Spend it on yourself instead. It doesn't matter. I'll get paid for the job anyway, right? Tua looked at him, knowing full well he was only saying that to avoid looking vulnerable. Fine, Tua said with a smile. Then treat me to a meal next time. Deal, Arnold nodded, ending the discussion. Rather than sitting around awkwardly, he stayed to help with the barbecue. He was still too nervous to make eye contact with the others as they gradually arrived. I barely know anyone, he admitted. Don't worry. Everyone here is good people. Tua paused before correcting himself. Well, they're a little weird, but they're all good at heart. What about the sound technician? I heard Jack found someone new. Yeah, that's true. They found someone to handle the sound. Just remember, working with Jack takes patience. He's a perfectionist because he wants everything to be perfect. Arnold nodded, though that wasn't what was really bothering him. I have to kiss Dean in the play. What? Tua froze before laughing. You've never kissed a guy before? Of course I have. Oh, but I've never kissed someone I wasn't emotionally involved with, Arnold admitted honestly. And on top of that, it's Dean. That makes it even more complicated. Don't worry, Tua reassured him. Even if it doesn't seem like it, Dean's a professional. Once the workshops begin, you'll both get comfortable. Everything will be fine. Somehow, Tua's words eased Arnold's anxiety. His expression visibly relaxed. Wanting to change the subject, Arnold asked, "Speaking of that, do you remember your first kiss?" Tua's hand trembled, and the piece of meat he was holding nearly slipped back onto the grill. "What kind of question is that?" "My first kiss was with a girl at a food stall. It was just a one-night adventure, and nothing ever came of it," Arnold said casually. "What about yours?" Tua didn't want to revisit those unpleasant memories, but he also felt he might regret passing up the chance to be honest with the person standing beside him. "It was actually last year. The kiss itself was nice, but the ending was a disaster. In the end, it turned out I'd kissed the wrong person." Before he could say anything more, a car horn sounded outside the gate. It was Jack, signaling for Tua to open it. A black car slowly rolled into the driveway, so they could unload the shopping bags. Timmy hurried over to help, but the moment he saw Jack and Dean getting out of the car together, he couldn't resist complaining. "Damn, I thought you two would have killed each other over the booze." Jack and Dean exchanged a glance. Dean smiled faintly, while Jack answered with obvious annoyance. "Who said we were going to fight?" The party quickly came alive. Karaoke blasted through the yard as Timmy sang at the top of his lungs. No one seemed remotely concerned that the neighbors might call the police and get the entire cast arrested before the play even began. Raffy arrived later than everyone else because of a family obligation. Since Tua's driveway was already full, he parked along the curb. Carrying an expensive bottle of wine, he walked toward the house, excited to be part of a production directed by someone as talented as Jack. Well, if it isn't the celebrity's son." Those words sent a chill down Raffy's spine. He spun around and was stunned to find Rome standing there again, the one person he couldn't seem to escape. "You again? Why do you keep following me? What do you want?" "I already bought the DJ equipment." "What are you talking about?" Rome laughed. "I'm here for the party, same as you." Raffy became even more uneasy, but before he could ask anything else, Rome explained. "I'm part of the production now. Jack asked me to handle the music. Looks like we'll be seeing a lot of each other. Can actor." "What?" Rome smiled with obvious satisfaction at Raffy's reaction before casually heading toward the house, as though nothing were wrong. Tua opened the door to welcome them. The last two members of the team are finally here. Still stunned, Raffy hurried after Rome and grabbed his arm, demanding an explanation. Before Rome could answer, Timmy's shrill voice echoed through the yard. "That's everyone. Can director say a few words?" Everyone applauded as Jack accepted the microphone from the producer. He was practically the only sober person there since he hadn't touched a drop of alcohol. "Welcome, everyone. We'll be living and working together for the next several months. Working with me won't always be easy, but I'm confident I've gathered the best people for this production. I believe every one of you will give your heart to making this play the best it can be." Jack spotted Raffy and motioned for him to come over. Raffy reluctantly let go of Rome and walked over. "And I'd also like to thank Raffy. Thank you for joining my play." At that exact moment, Dean loudly snapped a piece of chewing gum. Everyone instinctively turned toward the sound, but sensing the tension, they quickly looked back at Jack and Raffy instead. Jack ignored the interruption and gave Raffy a friendly pat on the shoulder. "Thank you for welcoming me, but I should be the one thanking you for giving me this role. The audience is going to love you," Jack said. "You'll learn a lot from this experience." The atmosphere was beginning to grow tense again. Seeing it, Timmy quickly stepped in before things escalated into World War III. "Come on, everyone. Smile. Our play is going to be a huge success. You'll see." Then he raised his voice. "And don't party too hard. Our first rehearsal is tomorrow. Anyone who shows up late pays a fine." With that, Timmy returned to his karaoke performance. Jack took the opportunity to thank Raffy once more. "I really mean it. Thank you for being part of my play." Raffy couldn't hide how touched he felt. His cheeks flushed as he answered shyly. "I'm just happy to help. I don't even know if I'll do a good job." Jack placed both hands on Raffy's shoulders, repeating the encouragement he had given him before. "You're truly talented, Raffy. I believe in you. You should believe in yourself too." "All right." Raffy smiled with renewed determination. "I'll give it everything I've got. I won't let you down." Watching Jack and Raffy together made Rome increasingly uncomfortable. He grabbed a bottle of beer and wandered over to an empty chair in the yard. Dean, equally irritated, sat down beside him. The Prince of Sinkham glanced at Rome before turning his attention back to Jack and Raffy, unable to look away. You're staring at Raffy so hard your eyes are about to fall out. What are you implying, pretty boy? Dean smirked, clearly pleased by the nickname, before returning to the subject. You like him, don't you? Rome looked at him. Dean's tone and expression made it obvious he wasn't happy about the person they were discussing either. So what if I do? He's cute, and he's fun to tease. Sure, Dean replied sarcastically. But don't you realize he likes Jack? I know. Rome took another drink to calm his irritation. What's so special about Jack? Why's everyone so crazy about him? Want me to make you a list? Dean joked. Forget it. He's someone with a bright future, Dean said simply. But he doesn't seem interested in anyone. Unless you'd like to try your luck. Rome let out a low growl, ready with a sarcastic reply. Deep down, though, he had to admit Dean wasn't such a bad guy after all. Dean snapped another piece of gum before looking at his new, unspoken ally. So, what are we going to do about those two? The party gradually came to an end. One by one, everyone said their goodbyes and headed home after the host had practically drowned them in alcohol, as though it were an all-you-can-drink buffet. Arnold was one of the worst victims. Dean had mixed liquor, beer, and soju until Arnold's head felt ready to split apart. He sat perfectly still, fighting to keep himself awake, hoping he could stay conscious long enough to ride his motorcycle home. As Tua cleaned up the empty plates and trash, he couldn't help worrying. If you're that drunk, why don't you stay here tonight? You're in no condition to ride. Arnold forced his heavy eyes open. I'm not that drunk. I just need to rest for a bit. Then I'll be fine. If not, I'll call a taxi. Don't worry. Just let me wash my face first. His unsteady voice completely contradicted his words. Tua sighed at Arnold's stubbornness. He reached out to help him stand and lead him to the bathroom, but Arnold refused, insisting he wasn't drunk as he staggered toward the house on his own. The sight made Tua shake his head with a helpless smile. What he didn't realize was that someone had been watching the entire exchange from the very beginning. Why didn't you just climb straight into his lap? Dean, you scared me. I see how it is. Acting all innocent, but you're inviting a guy to spend the night. He's drunk. Can't you see that? Tua shot back. Besides, I noticed you and Jack acting strangely earlier. Did you two get back together or something? No, nothing like that. Good. Because I don't want to deal with your relationship drama anymore. Every time you two fight, I end up like a dog caught between two owners, not knowing whose side to take. He turned back to cleaning the barbecue grill. Hey, Dean frowned. Can you stop acting like Snow White cleaning up after the dwarfs for a second, and listen to me? If you like him, just admit it. It's not as easy for me as it is for you. Tua replied without turning around. I'm looking for something serious, not another short-lived relationship that falls apart overnight. Do you understand? And now you're Rapunzel? Dean rolled his eyes. If that's what you want, then make it obvious. Otherwise, how are you ever going to move forward? Just be direct. He grinned. Kiss him first. Tua froze. Kiss him? Yes, Dean answered seriously. Start with the kiss. If he kisses you back, then you'll know he's interested too. Tua slowly found himself persuaded by Dean's advice. Seeing him hesitate, Dean knew he had to strike while the moment was still alive. The Prince of Sinkham, self-proclaimed expert in acting, sex, and relationships, grabbed an unopened bottle of soju and pressed it into his friend's hands. Have a drink to build up your courage. Then go get him. Chapter 9. We're Waiting for Godot. Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Jack slipped inside the house to escape the chaos of the drunken guests and the karaoke singing he had never enjoyed. Before long, the shouting outside began to fade. He assumed his heavy drinking friends had finally gone home. He knew his aunt's house well. After all, he had lived there for a while when he was dating Dean. Looking back, it was strange how a couple everyone had once admired had become nothing more than a memory people avoided. Everything connected to them, objects, belongings, even memories, had been discarded. He stopped in front of a pillow that had once belonged to Dean. His eyes lingered on the marks where stickers had been peeled off the bedroom door as he tried to remember what had once been there. If he remembered correctly, one of them had been a sticker of a girl writing in a diary. A pang of regret struck him as he wondered if Dean had forgotten those happy memories too. After a brief hesitation, Jack reached for the doorknob. It wasn't locked. He stepped inside. Everything looked the same, or at least it seemed that way. He felt relieved to see that the posters of their favorite movies, collected together over the years and hung on the walls, were still there. At the very least, Dean must have realized how rare and valuable they were. Suddenly, the bedroom door swung open. Startled, Jack found his ex standing there, greeting him not with warmth but with a mocking smile and an icy stare. "Oh, came to wallow in old memories? Is it because you used to sleep with me?" Dean teased, sounding only half joking. "I just wanted to see if the old posters were still here," Jack replied, pointing toward the wall. "If you ever decide to get rid of them, let me know." Dean let out a sarcastic laugh and rolled his eyes. Then he suddenly remembered something. He hurried to a shelf, searched through it with determination, and pulled out a long cardboard tube. Opening it carefully, he revealed a vintage poster from a legendary film before handing it to Jack. "Didn't you always say you wanted this poster? Here, it's yours." "For me?" Jack asked in surprise. "For free. Who do you think I am?" Dean replied with mock offense before flashing a mischievous grin. Lightly tapping Jack's firm chest with the poster tube, he added, "Unless you want to give me something in return?" Jack immediately shoved Dean's head away before he could lean in any closer. Dean simply laughed. Without hesitation, Jack grabbed the poster tube and claimed it as his own. Something that valuable shouldn't go to waste. "Hey, let me tell you something," Jack said. "Be a little nicer to Raffy, okay? He's part of the project too." The moment Dean heard Raffy's name, he frowned. "And what did I do this time?" "Don't pretend you don't know. Everyone noticed what you pulled at dinner." "I was just teasing him," Dean admitted bluntly. "I didn't think he'd take it that seriously. Besides, for the record, the first person I ever cared about wasn't Raffy." "But you don't have that right anymore, do you?" Jack replied. "And let me make one thing clear. I have no intention of getting back together with you. Understand?" "So cold," Dean sighed dramatically. "I give you a rare poster for free, and you still attack me. You're hopeless." Jack remained unmoved. "How much is it? Tell me, and I'll transfer the money." "What if we trade it for something else instead?" Dean asked with a sly smile. Annoyed, Jack lightly smacked Dean on the head with the poster tube before walking away. As he left, he could still hear Dean groaning theatrically to himself inside the room. Raffy was frustrated because he couldn't find Jack. He searched the entire house, but there wasn't a trace of him. There was no way someone as important as the director would leave early. Or was Jack with Dean? Dean had disappeared too. Unable to keep searching, Raffy decided it was time to go home. "So you're really that upset because you couldn't find him?" A familiar mocking voice greeted him. Rome stood outside the house with a cigarette between his fingers, wearing a provocative smile as he noticed Raffy's frustration. Ignoring him, Raffy pulled out his phone and messaged his driver to come pick him up so he could get away from that house, and from Rome. Rome flicked his cigarette to the ground and strolled over, looking completely at ease. "I know I'm not as talented or as handsome as Jack, but I can make a pretty good substitute." "What the hell are you talking about, Rome? Are you drunk?" "Hear me out." Rome raised a hand to stop him. "If your fi lets you down, you can always come to me for a little comfort. I'm more than happy to satisfy you whenever you want." The invitation unsettled Raffy. It came at exactly the moment he wanted something, anything, to distract him from the frustration and the sudden ache in his chest. He stepped closer until only the two of them could hear each other. "So you'll sleep with me again and then run off to tell Jack about it?" "How many times do I have to tell you, princess? I never tell anyone who I sleep with." That was enough. Without another word, Raffy slipped his hand into Rome's pants, his fingers moving with playful confidence. It didn't take long before he felt the warmth and firmness already waiting for him, moisture gathering at the tip. Rome let out a quiet groan of pleasure in the middle of the empty street. "Let's go to your car," Raffy said. "I want to ride you." Tua still couldn't stop thinking about the kiss Dean had suggested. He kept drinking soju while stealing glances at Arnold from across the room until he became almost as drunk as Arnold himself. At last, he found the courage to approach him without feeling awkward. "Looks like everyone's really taken with you tonight. Feeling a little less nervous now. I have you to thank for that," Arnold replied with a smile, his eyes half-lidded. "I've barely had any friends over the past 4 years because I've been so busy working. Come to think of it, you're basically my only friend in the faculty." About that kiss you were worried about. Tua swallowed, forcing himself to be brave once more. Do you still want to try kissing a guy, like in the play? Arnold looked puzzled. Before he could respond, Tua stepped closer until they were face to face. You could try kissing me. What? Although confused, Arnold didn't move away. He simply waited. Tua leaned in until their lips met in a gentle kiss. He kissed Arnold softly, savoring the moment before finally pulling back. Looking at him expectantly, Tua asked, "What did you feel?" Arnold touched his lips, thoughtful and slightly dazed. Tua's heart pounded. At last, Arnold let out a quiet laugh. I think that. Before he could finish, a loud noise from the front door interrupted them. Tua frowned. Who would show up this late? Maybe someone who had forgotten something. Jack, Dean, and the others came out of the house to see who had arrived. When Tua opened the door and saw the man standing outside, goosebumps spread across his skin. A tall man holding a bottle of liquor smiled warmly at him. Jack told me to come to the party, he said. You made it, little American. Jack called from inside the house. Everyone, this is Boston. He's going to help us design the posters for the play. The host stepped aside to let the guest enter as he greeted his old friends. Of course, Tua recognized the newcomer immediately. He was the despicable man who had stolen Tua's very first kiss. Chapter 10. I Must Stand on My Own 2 Feet. From A Doll's House, by Henrik Ibsen. Tua tried to convince himself to stay professional, but working with someone he had a history with was far more difficult than he'd expected. He didn't know who to blame. Jack, for impulsively bringing someone onto the project without consulting him, or himself, for being foolish enough to lose his first kiss that day. Or maybe he should be angry at Dean, who kept acting suspicious and wouldn't stop bothering him throughout the fitting session. So, did you two spend the time reminiscing about the good old days? Asked the Prince of Sinkham with a mischievous grin as he stepped into the changing room after the first photo shoot. What good old days? We only kissed. Nothing else ever happened. Tua snapped. Then can I give it a try? Dean joked. Gross. Find someone better. Tua made a face as though he were about to throw up. You and Jack are the ones who brought him into my life when we were still together. If you mess with him, Jack will kill you. What am I supposed to do? Jack hasn't paid the slightest attention to me all day, Dean complained, pouting as he remembered how Jack had been in full tyrant director mode, controlling every detail of the shoot alongside the cameraman, Boston, like a starving dog that hadn't eaten in days. What's the next outfit I need to put on? Tua asked. Just then, Arnold walked in wearing a designer costume that showed off part of his chest as he buttoned his shirt. Dean glanced at him with a grin before stepping aside and tossing out a sarcastic remark. The star has arrived. Don't forget to tell me how last night's kiss was when you're done. Dean tried to smack Tua on the shoulder, but missed. Fortunately, Arnold didn't hear him and walked over to take Dean's place. Tua felt himself grow nervous as he picked up the next outfit. He watched Arnold for a moment before speaking shyly. Hey, about last night. It's fine. I know you were drunk. I was too, Arnold said casually, as though he understood everything. It was just a kiss. You don't have to make such a big deal out of it. Arnold spoke as though it meant nothing, but to Tua it meant the exact opposite. He felt miserable, his face stiff with embarrassment, wishing he could disappear. Even so, he forced himself to act normal. I didn't think much of it either. It was just drunken nonsense, he lied. All right, go to your thing, superstar. Arnold smiled faintly and nodded. He turned around so Tua could help adjust his clothes while Tua did everything he could to hide what he was feeling inside. Boston generously allowed the theater production team to use his private studio for the fitting photo shoot, and he even volunteered to be the photographer free of charge. The producer, Timmy, had been smiling nonstop all day because the project had virtually no production costs. Aside from a little money spent on water and lunch, it was far cheaper than paying hundreds of thousands for a full studio shoot. What luck that Jack knew Boston. Do you like this look? The photographer asked the director. He's already pretty pale. I don't want to brighten the lights too much, or it'll look fake. Jack stepped closer to the monitor to inspect the photos himself. Just as Boston had said, they looked stunning. It's perfect. The pictures feel alive. I'm tired of photographers who take beautiful shots that end up looking dry and lifeless, Jack said. Still, I can't complain. You let me use your studio, and you're shooting for free. The least I can do is buy you food and drinks. Don't worry about it. Just remember to give me a little promotion when you use the photos. If I get more studio clients, that's profit for me, Boston replied. Raffy, already dressed in costume, stood nearby waiting for his turn. Once Jack finished reviewing the previous model's photos and gave his approval, it was finally Raffy's turn. Just as he was about to step onto the set, Timmy suddenly called out, "Lunch break, everyone." "What? I've been waiting forever," Raffy shouted. The producer answered without hesitation. "No choice. The catering crew has to leave before 3, or we'll have to pay overtime." Jack, ever the responsible director, understood immediately. All he could do was apologize. "Sorry, Raffy. It's okay. A break is good. Everyone else must be hungry," Raffy replied with an easy smile. "You should eat too. You've been working nonstop since this morning. We don't want you passing out." "Thanks, buddy," Jack said with a grateful smile. The director and the honorary photographer headed off to eat with the rest of the crew. Raffy felt pleased with himself for earning points with the director, unaware that someone had been watching him the entire time. "Trying to play the saint now? Why don't you go become a monk instead of an actor?" a mocking voice sneered. "You act like everyone's savior, but you're just desperate for attention. So what if I care about other people? That's still better than someone who only thinks about himself," Raffy shot back. "Oh, is that what this is? Ex-boyfriend privilege? You think you can have whatever you want just because you used to date him?" The other man laughed. "Too bad he didn't choose to stay with you." Raffy clenched his fists. "Don't do anything stupid, or tonight will be your last," he warned. The other man only laughed harder, as though the threat amused him. "I'm not the one who's going to trip. Worry about your own feet. Those thick-soled Dr. Martens look like chopping boards," the lead actor said contemptuously, looking him up and down. So 2011. As the play's sound designer, Rome had to attend the fitting to take photos for the production program. Although his own department wasn't busy yet, he didn't waste time. Instead, he helped the other teams with whatever small tasks they needed. During lunch, his phone rang. Rome frowned when he saw the caller's name. "Hello, Phi Joe." "Rome, don't you dare miss tonight's job, got it? The customers have practically been begging for you." Rome took a deep breath before answering with a light-hearted tone. "I won't, Phi. How could I? I already promised." "Good. Oh, the customers were asking about your friend too. James. James something. The one with the 2-syllable name. Where's he working these days?" "He's disappeared." Rome knew exactly who he meant. I don't know, Phi. I haven't seen him in a long time." "What a shame. Well, if you see him, tell him the customers miss him." "I will, Phi Joe. See you tonight." Rome ended the call and let out a long sigh of relief. A voice suddenly spoke behind him. "So you're taking jobs now?" Rome's face darkened immediately. He was about to snap back, but Raffy laughed first. "What's with that expression?" "I'm kidding. I know it's probably a DJ job." "Oh." The young DJ sighed in relief, then froze when Raffy sat down beside him. Raffy opened his lunchbox and frowned at the shrimp pad craw inside. "You're not eating?" Rome asked. "I'm allergic to seafood. I'll order something else." "Don't let the others know you're allergic. If you eat separately, they'll think you're being difficult." Rome offered his own garlic chicken. "Take mine. I haven't touched it. Next time, let them know in advance so they can prepare something for you." Raffy realized Rome was right. He didn't want to seem spoiled, so he accepted the exchange. "You didn't put any aphrodisiac in this, did you?" Raffy teased. "You've been watching too many soap operas." Rome laughed. "Just eat and stop imagining things." Raffy smiled to himself and took a bite of the garlic chicken. It tasted incredible, though he couldn't tell whether it was because of the food or the company. "Thanks. Today's been annoying, but at least I got a good meal out of it." "What happened this time? Dean or Jack?" Rome asked. "The first one," Raffy sighed. "And some other things. The university pool's closed today. I was planning to swim afterward." "As if you don't have a pool at home," Rome teased. "It's not the same. The one at school is huge. The one at home is tiny." Then Raffy's eyes suddenly lit up. "Hey, do you have plans tonight? Can I come with you?" "What?" Rome nearly choked on his basil. "You're coming with me?" "Yeah. We can listen to music, have a drink. Or do you already have a date with some girl?" The young DJ quickly shook his head. "No, but it's not the kind of job you're thinking of." "So you really did take a job?" Raffy pressed. "Just tell me. I can handle it." "It's not like that." Rome protested again. "I am working, but you wouldn't enjoy it." Growing impatient with the evasive answers, Raffy lightly nudged Rome's crotch with his foot in playful provocation. Rome's body reacted instantly. He couldn't believe it, but he didn't make a scene. After all, an unexpected opportunity had just presented itself. "Follow me to the bathroom," Raffy said as he stood and walked away. Rome discreetly covered himself, making sure no one noticed his obvious reaction. At that moment, he changed his mind and decided to let Raffy accompany him to work that night. Then, slightly hunched over, he got up and followed Raffy toward the restroom. Tua hurried through lunch so he could prepare the outfits for the next session. He carefully hung each costume so it would be easy to grab when needed. Someone entered the dressing room. At first, he assumed it was one of the actors, but it was Boston. "Nice clothes. Being a stylist must be fun," Boston said casually. "Thanks," Tua replied flatly, pretending to stay busy. "Are you still angry about what happened back then?" Boston asked. "No, I'm over it." "So, do you have someone new now?" "Do I really have to answer that?" Tua turned around, clearly irritated. Boston smiled and stepped closer without hesitation. "Let the past stay in the past. I want to start over, and I'd like to start over with you. Get ready, because I'm going to win you back." Boston flashed a confident smile just as Arnold walked into the dressing room and stopped, sensing the tension. "Is something wrong?" Arnold asked. "Nothing. We were just talking. I need to get back to the set," Boston replied as he headed for the door. Before leaving, he glanced at Arnold. "You look great in that outfit. You've got the body of a professional model. Have you ever done a portfolio shoot?" "Never." "How does that work?" Arnold asked curiously. Boston simply smiled and walked away. Arnold turned back to Tua, puzzled. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," Tua insisted, rubbing his eyes. "You're ready, right? Let's get you changed. Are we done for today? I really want to take this outfit off. Help me carry everything afterward. I don't think I can manage it all by myself." "I'll help," Arnold offered immediately, forgetting the awkwardness from earlier. "Thanks," Tua said with a genuine smile. "It's nothing. Hey, do you want to watch a movie at my place tonight? We can try out the new sound system. Last night was great." Tua stood frozen, almost pinching himself to make sure he wasn't dreaming. Suddenly, he had the chance to spend time alone with Arnold, without anyone interrupting them. Half of his worries disappeared instantly. "Of course," Tua replied excitedly. Chapter 11. Mischiefs feed like beasts, till they be fat, and then they bleed. Volpone, by Ben Jonson. After the shoot ended, Jack took Boston out to dinner, keeping the promise he had made. They sat together, catching up and sharing stories over a good bottle of wine. Boston told Jack about his experiences in New York and how frustrated he had become with the demanding clients he worked for. That was why he had decided to return to Thailand, open a studio, and devote himself to photography. When it was time to part ways, they said their goodbyes. Jack didn't have a chance to check his phone until he stepped into the elevator of his condominium. There was a flood of message notifications and more than 10 missed calls from Dean. The young director sighed. He was far too tired to read or listen to what he assumed would be more pointless nonsense from his ex-boyfriend. However, the moment he opened the door to his apartment, something felt wrong. He quickly switched on the light and froze in surprise. The very person he had been cursing only moments earlier was sitting cross-legged on the sofa, calmly drinking wine. "Dean, damn it. How did you get in here?" Jack shouted angrily. "Did you break into my apartment?" "Calm down," said the Prince of Sinkham, rolling his eyes. "I just pretended to cry and told the concierge you had kicked me out, but that I needed to come back for something important. He felt sorry for me and unlocked the door. He even scolded you for being so cruel." "Dean, I'm not in the mood for your games anymore," Jack snapped. "You have to stop doing things like this. I don't like it." "Fine." Dean set his wine glass down and crossed his arms as he walked closer with a smile. "I just wanted to talk to you. You ignored me all day. Did you forget?" "What are you talking about?" "Boston," Dean replied. "Did you forget that you two have a history? Do you want the theater group to fall apart or something?" Those words made Jack forget his anger for a moment. He sighed and rubbed his temples. He had completely forgotten about that. "Damn it. I already asked Boston to handle the behind-the-scenes photos and cover the main rehearsal day," Jack muttered. "What am I supposed to do now?" "Nothing," Dean answered. "I understand why you called him. He works for free, but you should still be careful. Even if Boston is professional enough not to make things awkward, you should think about his feelings. Don't forget, you were the one who introduced him to all of this. So you're blaming me for everything?" Jack asked. I don't want to say it outright, but yes, Dean replied with a shrug. Fine. I'll find the right time to clear things up with him. Thanks. Well, you don't thank me very often, Dean said with a smile. That makes me happy. You're finished here. Now go home, Jack said as he tried to walk past him. Before he could, Dean wrapped his arms around Jack from behind. Actually, I came because I want us to get back together. Dean, you didn't go after Raffy, did you? Dean asked, unable to hide the jealousy in his voice. Jack hesitated, still uncomfortable. No, I was out drinking with Boston. And then, Dean loosened his embrace, but Jack remained standing there, as though he'd forgotten what he had intended to do. Dean, I've told you 1,000 times. There's no point. We can't get back together. Just because of that. Dean asked, did you really break up with me and stay angry just because I had to work to earn money and you didn't like it? That's not the only reason. But yes, that's part of it. But I only did it because. This isn't the time for explanations, Dean. We broke up a long time ago. I'm tired, and I'm not ready to hear any of it, Jack interrupted. Dean pressed his lips together before finally nodding in understanding. It looked as though he wanted to explain everything in detail, but in the end, he changed his mind. The Prince of Sinkham quietly went home, leaving Jack alone with the anger and resentment of the past, feelings he still couldn't forgive. Raffy kept his promise and accompanied Rome to work. In return, he was rewarded with a passionate encounter in the bathroom of Boston's studio. Afterward, Raffy helped Rome set up the DJ equipment. The event was being held at a luxurious mansion overlooking the sunset, complete with an enormous swimming pool and an integrated hot tub. The hosts were a group of wealthy men, apparently celebrating one of their birthdays. Each was accompanied by an attractive young companion, some slender, others muscular, whose roles seemed to be entertaining them. Some couples clung to one another like entwined vines, dancing with sensual movements that suggested much more than innocent fun. So this is what parties like this are like, Raffy commented without judgment. Rome glanced at him, worried the remark might spoil the mood. Want to try DJing? Rome offered. Can I? Sure. Just don't spill water on my equipment. Rome stepped behind Raffy and explained the controls while guiding him through the basics. Raffy tried to follow along, but he quickly threw the beat completely off, earning loud boos from the crowd. In the end, he gave up and decided to simply watch. You're actually really good. I thought you were just cool, Raffy admitted. What? You thought I was only handsome? Rome laughed. Raffy neither confirmed nor denied it. Why do you take jobs like this? Raffy asked. Do you need the money? No. I just use gigs like these to sharpen my skills. Playing here helps me imagine performing at huge festivals. Rome winked. One day I'm going to play at Tomorrowland. That's a pretty big dream. Not that big. You'll see. I'll make it. You and Jack are alike, aren't you? Ambition runs in your blood, Raffy teased. Rome immediately frowned. We may share the same blood, but don't compare me to him, okay? All right. When you play at Tomorrowland, don't forget to invite me. The music pounded on through what felt like an endless night. Colored lights flickered across the dancing crowd. Guests wandered over to request songs or greet the two handsome young men with flirtatious smiles. Both Rome and Raffy handled the attention with ease, sometimes nodding politely and sometimes clinking glasses with guests to keep the atmosphere lively. Word spread quickly about how talented the DJ was, and Joe, the event organizer, came over personally to thank them. When he reached the booth, however, he found only Raffy. Where's Rome? Joe shouted over the music. Are you one of the hired boys? No, I just came with Rome. He went to the bathroom and should be back soon. Joe openly looked Raffy up and down. If you're interested in this kind of work, let me know. Wow, all of Rome's friends are handsome. Then he added, by the way, do you know James Dean? He's one of Rome's friends too. No, Raffy frowned as he searched his memory. I only know someone named Dean from our group. Could be the same guy. Slim, really pale, kind of delicate looking. Raffy suddenly had a suspicion. Do you have a picture of this James Dean? I think so. Hang on. Joe pulled out his phone and searched through his gallery. A moment later, he found a video showing James Dean wearing a white shirt while dancing to entertain a wealthy client. Raffy's eyes widened. As Joe handed him the phone, everything clicked into place. James Dean was Dean, the lead actor of Romeo and Romeo, his eternal rival. Dean, a paid companion, Raffy thought with a scornful smile. Hey, Fi Joe. Rome returned just then, distracting Joe so completely that he forgot his phone was still in Raffy's hands. While Rome chatted with the organizer, Raffy quietly airdropped the video to his own phone before slipping Joe's phone back into his hand without anyone noticing. Why are you smiling? Rome asked after Joe walked away. Nothing. Raffy lifted his beer bottle in a private toast. I'm just enjoying the party. Rome didn't press the matter and returned to his DJ set, while Raffy danced beside him with a satisfied smile. Timmy prepared the room for the script reading, arranging the chairs so everyone involved in the production could read together before rehearsals officially began. The actors sat around the director in the center of the room, while the technical crew occupied the seats surrounding them. Feeling proud of his work, Timmy gave himself a round of applause. When Dean entered with Tua and Jack, Timmy wondered if his friend had finally gone crazy from studying too hard. Once everyone had arrived, Timmy handed things over to Jack. Ready? Jack asked. Shall we begin? Turn off your phones, Timmy added sternly. If I hear even one notification, the guilty person pays a fine. I'm serious. This production needs funding. Before he could finish speaking, a notification chimed. Jack looked up from the script, preparing to scold someone. Then another notification sounded. Then another. Within seconds, the entire room was filled with vibrations and alert tones. Everyone pulled out their phones. As they read whatever had appeared on their screens, their faces drained of color. Their eyes shifted uneasily between Jack and Dean. Unable to bear the suspense, Timmy checked his own phone. His face immediately went pale. Jack, he said quietly, I think we should cancel today's reading. Sensing something was terribly wrong, Tua checked his own phone. The Sinkham students' Discord server had exploded. Everyone was talking about a newly uploaded video posted anonymously. It was spreading rapidly, and people were tearing it apart without mercy. Tua opened the video. He froze. The person on the screen was sitting right beside him. Dean, Tua said softly. Have you seen this? Dean leaned over to look at Tua's phone. The instant he recognized the video, a chill ran straight down his spine. He took the phone and began reading the comments. Each one felt like another knife. Is the Prince of Sinkham really an escort? What a scandal. Wow. White shirt, flushed skin. That must be a rough life. Theater kids are all like this. He's definitely not the only one. No wonder his ex dumped him. Ha ha. Careful what you post. The lead actor is in this group. Tears welled in Dean's eyes as he looked toward Jack for help. Jack's expression remained cold, but behind it lay unmistakable anger and pain. In an icy voice, he said, We're canceling today's reading. That's all. I'll reschedule it, Timmy quickly added. I'm really sorry, everyone. Jack stood up and walked out without another word. Dean hurried after him, desperate to stop him, but he was already too late. Tua and Timmy exchanged worried looks before following after them, wanting to support their friends. Meanwhile, as everyone else packed up while openly gossiping about Dean, Raffy quietly put away his script. He showed no concern whatsoever. Rome, sitting only a few seats away, watched him. And suddenly, he understood everything. Arnold stayed behind to clean the rehearsal room, putting everything back where it belonged. He rearranged the tables, picked up the trash. After all the drama, everyone had simply left as though none of it was their responsibility. In the end, Arnold was the one cleaning everything up. Since he had already taken the day off from Aunt Pink's shop, it would have been disrespectful to return to work midway through the day, so he decided to make good use of his free time instead. Tua returned to the room and found him cleaning. He immediately felt guilty. I'm sorry we left you to clean by yourself. Arnold smiled, making light of it. He was worried about something else. How are Dean and Jack? Dean wants to be alone, and Jack disappeared. I tried calling him, but he keeps hanging up. Tua sighed. I'm sorry. We wasted your day, and now you're helping clean up on top of that. It's okay. I understand. If I were Jack, I probably would have stopped everything too, Arnold replied. But tell Timmy to start charging people for leaving trash around. Trust me, they'll make a fortune. Tua laughed, finally relaxing. That's actually a good idea. What are you going to do after this? Didn't you take the day off? I don't know. Maybe I'll practice my monologue. Aren't you exhausted? You work way too hard. No, you're working on costumes every day for the production. I can't afford to fall behind. Arnold smiled. Want to try dancing? Me? Tua pointed at himself in disbelief. I'm not that in touch with my body. If I were, I'd be a dancer instead of a stylist. Come on. Anyone can dance. Let's start with a TikTok challenge. What? Tua barely had time to react before Arnold dragged him over to practice. The young dancer patiently taught him how to move with the rhythm. Tua stumbled through it awkwardly, but Arnold never lost his patience. Eventually, they recorded a TikTok together. Wow, you have a huge number of followers, Tua said after seeing Arnold's profile. Are you a TikTok celebrity? Something like that. But if I post this video with you, I might actually become one. You're so cute that everyone will stop scrolling just to hit like, Arnold joked. Just before uploading the video, Arnold suddenly remembered something. Oh right, Boston followed me recently and even sent me a message. Tua froze. What did he say? Nothing much. Just a greeting. I think it was because of the profile pictures. Arnold studied Tua's expression. Is something going on between you two? Do you not get along? Why would you ask that? I noticed something yesterday. It just didn't add up. If you want to talk about it, you can. There was no point hiding it anymore. Tua finally confessed. Do you remember when I told you about my first kiss? Don't tell me. Arnold slowly connected the pieces. Was it Boston? Was he the one who stole your first kiss? Did he do something to hurt you? No. It was my fault. Tua answered quickly, confused by how upset Arnold suddenly looked. After that kiss, I got my hopes up. I wanted something more, but he didn't feel the same way. He cut off all contact and disappeared. Then we ended up meeting again through this theater project. If this becomes too much for you, tell me. I'll be your bodyguard, Arnold said earnestly. Don't overthink it. Someone as cute as you will definitely find someone wonderful. Believe me. Arnold's words comforted Tua more than he expected. Too bad Arnold had no idea that he himself was the object of someone else's secret affection. Chapter 12. Wake Up. Be Something. From the play Awake and Sing, by Clifford Odets. Dean hid himself inside the theater. At that moment, the empty stage, with no performance scheduled, felt completely unnatural. Everything around him was dark, gloomy, and lifeless, yet it matched the fragile state of his heart perfectly. The Prince of Sinkham wiped away his tears as he scrolled through old photos on his phone. He stopped at one of his mother and older sister during a trip to the countryside. Dean hadn't grown up in a wealthy family, but he had been raised in a home filled with love for theater and film, even though his parents had never had the chance to pursue those dreams themselves. Because of that, they had done everything they could to help their beloved son, who shared the same passion, chase his own dream. Dean knew all too well that the opportunity had come at a great cost. Ever since his father's death, a heavy debt had weighed on the family. That was why he worked relentlessly to earn money and ease the burden on his mother and sister, whether it meant waiting tables until dawn or taking entertainment jobs that drained both his body and soul. Footsteps echoed through the darkness, and a moment later, the lights came on. Someone entered the theater slowly. Dean looked up and saw Jack, but he was too exhausted to react. Jack walked down the aisle and dropped into one of the audience seats. Crossing his arms, he silently stared at the figures sitting on the stage. Neither of them spoke for a long while until Dean finally broke the silence. If you're here to lecture me, I'll tell you now, I'm not ready to hear it. I was planning to, Jack replied, but not right now. He noticed the glow of Dean's phone screen and immediately guessed what he was looking at. Looking at pictures of your mom again? You always do that when you're struggling. Just call her already. Leave me alone, Dean shot back. When I worry about you, you insult me. When I stay out of it, you call me heartless. What the hell do you want from me, Dean? It's been a long time since I've seen you like this, Jack said softly. You're always acting so tough that I forgot how fragile you really are. I'm sorry, Jack, Dean sobbed against his chest. For everything that happened before, and for what I just said. It's okay. If I did anything wrong back then, I'm sorry too. Dean pulled back slightly, but Jack refused to let him go. Their eyes met, searching each other's faces, silently wondering whether any feelings still remained. Then Jack leaned forward and kissed him. It was gentle, tender, and filled with more emotion than any kiss they had shared since their breakup. Do you think we can go back to the way things were? Dean asked after they separated. The way things were. 10 minutes ago, or when we were still together? Jack teased, even though he already knew what Dean meant. I don't know. Everything's different now. Is it really that hard to answer? We'll see. One thing's certain, you aren't easy to trust. Dean smiled seductively. That's true, Jack replied with a laugh. I'm serious. You're about to meet a brand new Dean. The Prince of Sinkham sealed his promise with another kiss. Jack laughed again, but eventually gave in and kissed him back. Raffy was in such an unusually good mood that he even lit a cigarette, something he almost never did. He didn't notice Rome approaching quietly in the smoking area beside the faculty building. From his expression and tone alone, it was obvious Rome hadn't come for casual conversation. It was you, wasn't it? Rome asked. Raffy feigned confusion. What are you talking about? Dean's video. You got it from Phi Joe, didn't you? You really think I leaked it? If it wasn't you, then who else? A video of Dean suddenly appears right after you took me to that job. That can't be a coincidence. If you choose to work in that world, you have to accept that it leaves a digital trail. But no, I wasn't the one who leaked it. You're wrong. Rome looked at him wearily. Raffy could deceive anyone he wanted, but the saddest part was that he was deceiving himself. Do you really love Jack that much? Rome asked. Even after I chased you, pleased you in the bathroom, let you do whatever you wanted to me in the car until you were satisfied? Wasn't that enough? That was just sex, Raffy replied coldly. I love Jack in a way you can never give me, and I never wanted anything from you. The words left Rome speechless. They were a couple. Don't you think this is pointless? He finally asked. We'll see whether I get what I want or not. Raffy stubbed out his cigarette. Are you done? I'm going to find Jack. Rome said nothing more. He could only watch Raffy walk away. Disappointment settled over him in silence, like the stillness before a storm. He had never imagined Raffy could be like this. Tua invited Arnold to go shopping at Fahurat Market. At first, he thought Arnold would refuse, but to his surprise, Arnold agreed immediately and even offered to pick him up at his apartment on his motorcycle. While Tua carefully selected fabrics, Arnold never complained once. Unlike Dean or Timmy, who always started whining and wanting to leave within minutes, Arnold patiently followed him everywhere. You're really meticulous, Arnold said admiringly as Tua carefully examined a piece of lace in one of the shops. No wonder you like making clothes. I've loved dressing well ever since I was little. I always wanted to become a stylist. That's nice. I'm the exact opposite. I'll do whatever pays, whether I enjoy it or not. Putting food on the table comes first. And dancing? Tua asked. You're really good at it. If money matters that much, you picked the wrong career. Acting is practically the #1 profession for unemployment. That's true, Arnold admitted with a laugh. Tua needed a large amount of fabric. Although his work as a stylist mainly involved coordinating costumes, several outfits had to be custom-made to fit the Shakespeare adaptation they were performing. Arnold carried bags stuffed with bolts of fabric without complaint, his strong arms making the work look effortless. After visiting several shops, Tua finally found the blue satin he had been searching for. As he was paying, an attractive, well-dressed woman approached Arnold hesitantly. Arnold, he looked up automatically, and his expression immediately revealed that he knew her. Irene. Shopping? She asked with a gentle smile. Helping a friend buy materials. He's making costumes for a play. Oh, the Sinkham faculty play you're acting in? I saw it on Instagram. Yeah. An awkward silence followed, so heavy that even Tua could feel it. Finally, Irene nodded politely. Good luck. I'll come watch the play. Then she walked away. Tua glanced at Arnold. A friend. We were close in high school, but we don't really talk anymore, Arnold admitted. She confessed to me, but I didn't feel the same way. Eventually, we just drifted apart. I see. I don't want to turn a friend into a lover, Arnold said suddenly. If you lose that friendship and then break up, you can never go back. Look at Jack and Dean. Even though they didn't end badly, things are still awkward. That doesn't happen to every couple, Tua replied. Doesn't it? Arnold raised an eyebrow. Then what about Jack and Dean? The example was so direct that Tua couldn't answer. He swallowed hard, imagining the day he might confess his feelings only to be rejected and treated like a stranger. The thought alone hurt. All he could do was remain by Arnold's side, admiring him from afar without any hope that his feelings would ever be returned. Even though he tried to accept it, the scandal continued to spread across the entire university. Dean could feel everyone's eyes following him as he entered the cafeteria. When he looked around, some people hurriedly looked away while others whispered openly among themselves. He was exhausted, but he understood that people loved gossip. After all, he was one of them. In the end, He chose a secluded table far from the curious stares. Even then, the whispers still reached him, slowly stealing away his appetite. There's the escort. With a face like that, he shouldn't even need to do that kind of work. Timmy heard the gossip and looked at Dean worriedly. Are you okay? Yeah, don't worry. Dean brushed it off, though it wasn't true. So the rumors spread across the whole campus already, huh? To a side, have they figured out who leaked the video yet? Not yet. The anonymous Discord account is hard to trace. The Prince of Sinkham replied. Does anyone know a good private detective? Or maybe a hitman? Honestly, that might be more useful. You're always joking. Timmy lightly smacked his shoulder. But seriously, you have to do something. What am I supposed to do? People have already judged me. Let them think whatever they want. I heard people saying you charge $15,000 for dinner. So poor he had no other way to make money? It's not that strange. That kind of work pays well. Lots of people do it these days. Even my boyfriend used to be a bar host. Even though Dean claimed not to care, another wave of gossip finally pushed him over the edge. He stood abruptly, grabbed his empty plate, and smashed it onto the floor. The loud crash silenced the entire cafeteria. What the hell did you just say? The Prince of Sinkham strode straight toward a table where a girl from the humanities faculty, wearing glasses, was trembling as she clung to her friends. We didn't say anything, she cried. Don't put on a performance. This isn't your major, Dean snapped, glaring at her. Repeat what you just said to your friends. The girl shook violently. Tach, they said. You charge $15,000 for dinner. Wrong, Dean shouted. It's cheaper. Only $10,000. Then he pointed at the girl with bangs beside her. And you? What did you say? I said you were poor. Exactly. I don't have money, sweetheart. I wanted to become an influencer, but I was too lazy to edit videos, so I chose this instead. Is that okay? Why, yes. I understand. And you? Dean turned toward the short-haired girl, who immediately flinched and waved her hands frantically. I wasn't criticizing you. I just said my boyfriend used to be a bar host too. I understand. Really, boo-hoo? She burst into tears. All right. Dean walked away, leaving the three girls clinging to one another and crying. Then he turned to face the entire cafeteria. Yes, I'm the one in the video. I'm an escort because I need money to support my family. I want to be rich, but I wasn't born rich. What the hell else was I supposed to do? If anyone has a problem with that, or wants to know more about my life, come ask me directly. Don't whisper so loudly. That's not gossip, that's broadcasting. So come talk to my face. And if anyone can tell me who leaked that video, I'd really appreciate it. There's a reward. Not a big one, because, like I said, I'm poor. Got it. Are we clear? Complete silence. The only sound left was the cafeteria lady banging her frying pan. Taking that as agreement, Dean smiled and gestured for everyone to continue eating. When he returned to his table, he found Jack sitting there, pride shining in his eyes. Dean rolled his eyes, but eventually smiled back. Timmy and Tua exchanged confused glances. Something had clearly changed between the two of them, but neither knew what to say. Across the cafeteria, Raffy and Pete had watched everything unfold. Pete let out an impressed whistle. That's insane. If that happened to me, I'd never have the nerve to come back to class. Raffy glared at Dean's table, anger burning inside him as he watched Jack sit beside Dean as though nothing had happened. He had expected Jack to abandon Dean. He had even hoped Jack would remove him from the role of Romeo. Instead, the two of them were sitting together, eating as if nothing had changed, despite everything Raffy had done. Pete noticed Raffy's silence. What's wrong, man? Nothing, Raffy replied curtly. Having lost his appetite, Raffy picked up his tray and walked away, leaving Pete sitting there alone in confusion. Chapter 13. He's no right to take away my character. From the play Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. Even though the scandal surrounding Dean had become the talk of the entire campus, rehearsals for the play continued as usual. It's okay. If you choose me, just come down, Arnold said, following the script. He was playing a character looking down at someone below, while Dean, his scene partner, tilted his head upward as though they were speaking from opposite sides of a tower. It's not that simple. Others will stand in our way. They don't want us to be together. If we love each other, there will only be hardship. Jack watched the scene with a director's critical eye. Everything was going well, but his perfectionist instincts still weren't satisfied. Every so often, he clicked his tongue, making Timmy, who sat beside him, tense up each time. Dean poured his heart into the performance. Every expression and gesture made him look like someone deeply in love. Watching from a distance while helping with the set, Tua had been observing from the beginning. As he looked at Arnold, a strange uneasiness settled in his chest, accompanied by a sharp stab of jealousy he couldn't quite explain. Dean continued pouring his emotions into Arnold. If I go with you, will I really have no regrets? I can't promise that. But what else can we do if we're already in love? The rapid clicking of a camera shutter echoed through the room. Boston was there that day, taking behind-the-scenes photos as part of his job. The repeated clicks distracted Arnold, causing him to lose focus and giving Jack the perfect opportunity to stop the rehearsal. Let's do another take. This is one of the most important scenes in the play. The audience has to believe that you're truly in love. Even more, Dean frowned uneasily. He knew his own performance had been solid, but Arnold had been stiff throughout the entire scene. Arnold, can you dig a little deeper? Jack said. You love this person so much that you feel like you die without him. Like you can't bear to be apart for even a second. Can you imagine that? The young dancer, acting for the first time, let out a slow breath. He felt overwhelmed. Acting was far more difficult than he'd imagined, but he didn't want to disappoint everyone. Damn it. I've never loved anyone that much before. Dean and Jack exchanged glances, both feeling equal parts sympathy for Arnold's non-existent love life and frustration because they didn't know how to help. All right, try this, Jack said. Close your eyes and picture the person you love most right now. It doesn't have to be a lover, just someone who's incredibly important to you. Arnold reluctantly did as he was told. To his surprise, it worked. An image appeared in his mind. Now, Jack's voice came from nearby. Slowly open your eyes and look at Dean. Imagine that person's face replacing his. Eyes to eyes, nose to nose, mouth to mouth. Keep looking until the person in your mind and Dean become one. When Arnold slowly opened his eyes, Dean stood before him as Romeo. This time, however, something had changed. He began to understand his character more deeply. Dean, as Romeo, suddenly became someone precious, someone whose presence truly stirred his character's emotions. Tell me something about him, Jack prompted, pointing at Dean. He's the person you love. Remember that. Dean stepped closer. The taller man lowered his gaze to meet Arnold's fair face. Is there anything pretty about me? Dean asked flirtatiously. Your dimples. They're adorable. I can't help smiling whenever I see them, Arnold answered. Your nose is cute. Your skin is soft. You're different from everyone else. Dean nearly broke character at the compliment, but instead, he gently took Arnold's hand and placed it against his own cheek, trying to convey every emotion he could. At last, Arnold found the emotional connection he had been searching for. Your eyelashes are beautiful. Your eyes are so clear. Looking into them feels like being invited into an unknown world. Wait, it still wasn't over. Dean almost laughed again, but the seriousness on Arnold's face made him wonder whether those compliments came from the heart, or whether they truly belonged to Romeo. It's working, Arnold suddenly exclaimed. Dean jumped in surprise. The young dancer beamed before stepping back and signaling to Jack that he was ready. Good. Let's run the scene again. The rehearsal went much better this time. Still, watching the two of them together made Tua's chest ache. He forced himself to look away and focused on sewing a piece of black fabric for the set until someone walked over and sat beside him. They've got great chemistry, don't you think? Boston said casually. Tua nearly choked before answering as naturally as he could. They're acting partners. Of course they have chemistry. Boston frowned. What's wrong with you? Are you upset about something? No. Are you jealous of your friend? The photographer asked in disbelief. Dean. Why would I be jealous of Dean? He's built like a buffalo. Oh. Boston narrowed his eyes as realization slowly dawned on him. Then you must be jealous of Arnold. Don't you have behind-the-scenes photos to take? Tua snapped. Can you leave me alone? Can't you see I'm working? How about we grab something to eat afterward? I know a great place. I want to take you there. Isn't there someone else you can ask? Did you forget? Boston laughed. I told you I'm courting you again this time around. At least act like someone who's being pursued. Tua. Arnold's voice rang out at the perfect moment, like a rescue bell. He looked at Tua questioningly, asking with his eyes whether everything was all right. Tua gave him a small nod. Meanwhile, Boston quietly observed the exchange between the two. I already have plans with Arnold, Tua said. Go ask someone else. With that, he quickly stood up and moved to another corner to continue working. Arnold watched Boston cautiously for a moment before Jack called him back for the next scene. The young photographer finally understood. Boston narrowed his eyes and smiled mischievously as a playful idea began forming in his head. Rehearsal ended on schedule. Jack thought he'd be the last one to leave, but Raffy was still waiting, as though he had something to say. "What's up? Cheer up, buddy," Raffy said with a bright smile. "I know it's been rough between rehearsals, fundraising for the production, and Dean's scandal." Jack was slightly annoyed that Raffy had brought it up, but he kept it off his face. "If you ever need someone to talk to or just someone to listen, let me know, okay? I'm always here." "Thanks, but it isn't necessary. Just keep working hard at rehearsals and do your best." "That's enough." The compliment filled Raffy with happiness. He grinned uncontrollably before waving goodbye and walking away. Jack thought he'd finally have a little peace. Instead, someone interrupted him again. "What did the little prince say to you? You're smiling like you just spotted a bowl of dog food." Jack recognized Dean's voice before he even turned around. "Show a little more respect when you talk about him." "Wow, so protective." The Prince of Sinkham walked over with both hands hidden behind his back, as though concealing a winning card. "Want to hear some good news? What kind of trouble did you cause this time? What kind of person do you think I am?" Dean pouted before breaking into another grin. "I got called in for a casting. The pay is $80,000. "That's great," Jack replied, not understanding why Dean felt the need to tell him. "Don't you want to come with me?" "Oh," Jack finally understood. "You want me to drive you there?" "No, I want your moral support. Neither Tua nor Timmy is free, so you're my only option," Dean explained quickly. "Don't you want to cheer me on?" "No." "Seriously? If I fail the audition, am I supposed to go home crying because nobody came to support me?" "Why are you always so dramatic?" "Really," Dean declared theatrically. "Just how much more miserable can my life possibly get?" Jack rubbed both hands through his hair until it looked like a bird's nest. Eventually, he surrendered. Fine, I'll go, but only as a friend." "Got it." Dean, who had been about to fake another dramatic sob, froze before breaking into a grin as wide as the dog food bowl he'd joked about earlier. He patted Jack on the shoulder. "Friends don't kiss in the theater, you know." Seeing Jack's stunned expression, Dean burst into triumphant laughter. In the end, Jack agreed to go with him. The Prince of Sinkham always got what he wanted. "I told you the car broke down. I'll still make it on time. I'll grab a taxi. There's no traffic, so I'll be there in half an hour." Raffy hung up after speaking with his mother, clearly irritated. His handsome face was full of frustration. The car, which had been working perfectly that morning, suddenly refused to start. He'd tried fixing it with his limited knowledge, but nothing worked. Eventually, he gave up. If he didn't leave soon, he'd miss his mother's important event. He picked up his bag and was about to call a taxi through an app when he noticed someone walking past. The other person quickened his pace without even looking at him. Not even going to say hello? Rome had almost walked right past. The tall man stopped, sighed, and turned around. "What? You're acting like you didn't even see me." "Maybe I didn't," the DJ replied, folding his arms. His expression remained unreadable as he studied Raffy for a moment before glancing at the car behind him. "Did it break down?" "It won't start," Raffy answered cautiously, trying to read Rome's mood. "Are you angry with me?" "Why would I be angry with you?" "Because ever since we talked that day, you haven't contacted me." "So what? Are you in the mood to vent again? So you suddenly remembered me?" "What's wrong with you?" "I'm trying to talk to you as a friend," Raffy said, beginning to lose his patience. "Forget it. Go wherever you're going. I'm in a hurry too." Seeing Raffy's irritated expression, Rome suddenly felt something soften inside him. The DJ stepped closer until he stood directly in front of Raffy, studying his face with sharp, hawk-like eyes, as though trying to make up for all the days they hadn't seen each other. Raffy looked back at him curiously. "What? Where are you going?" "I'll drive you." "No, thanks. You'll probably take me somewhere just to mess with me." "I really need to meet my mother," Raffy replied suspiciously, convinced Rome was still upset. "Who do you think I am? I was just trying to help. Go deal with your rich kid life by yourself. I won't interfere anymore." "Wait." A sudden panic gripped Raffy at those words, as though he truly couldn't bear the thought of losing Rome. "All right, I'll go with you." "That's better." Rome said nothing more. He simply nodded and walked toward his car. Every now and then, he glanced sideways at Raffy, who stayed close behind him. So confident, are you? Jack smiled faintly, though deep down he believed every word Dean had said. Dean had always taken his work seriously, especially acting. Shall we go? I still need to keep editing the script. Sure, but let me use the bathroom first. Wait for me in the parking lot. Dean hurried off cheerfully. Jack gathered both his own belongings and Dean's, slung everything over one shoulder, and headed out of the studio. As he passed the smoking area, he overheard part of a conversation. Although he pretended not to listen, every word reached him clearly. I support Dean, but what can we do if they don't want him? It's because of social media, right? Yeah, someone replied irritably. He's a better actor than anyone else, but he doesn't even have 500,000 followers on Instagram. There's no way the client will approve him. The words stung. At the same time, they forced Jack to accept reality. He knew that in this industry, popularity always outweighed talent. Everyone at his company who had studied acting understood that painful truth. Many graduates eventually ended up working office jobs, leaving both their dreams and their skills behind. As a director devoted to the craft of acting, Jack could only hope the industry would someday give talented people more opportunities. But as long as profit came first, he couldn't deny reality. Dean was truly talented. It was a shame he might lose this opportunity simply because he wasn't famous. Ready? Dean returned just then. Jack forced a smile, pretending everything was fine, and the two of them headed toward the car. Chapter 14. The Past is a Dream. From the play The Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov. When Raffy arrived with Rome, he was quickly taken backstage by the production team without any warning. They assumed Rome was an assistant or someone close to the day's guest star, Mrs. Ranchali, a prominent figure on the show. Ranchali was elegant and regal, carrying herself like a queen with an unmistakable aura that confirmed her status as one of the leading actresses of her generation. She shot her son a brief reproachful glance before turning one of her signature smiles toward Rome, who stood beside him, slightly hunched and visibly nervous. "And who is this?" she asked. "A grab driver," her son replied curtly. Rome let out a soft laugh before answering with the impeccable manners he had been raised with. "I'm Raffy's friend, ma'am. His car broke down, so I offered to drive him here." "Oh." Ranchali looked back at her son. "What do you mean your car broke down? Don't you take it in for maintenance every month like I told you, little Raffy?" Rome couldn't help smiling. Little Raffy. Raffy looked so embarrassed that he seemed ready to disappear into the floor. He hated it when his mother called him that in public. "Let it go, Mom. I made it here on time. And why are you still wearing your university uniform? Don't tell me you plan to appear on the program dressed like that. I came straight from campus. What else was I supposed to wear?" "Go change," she ordered coolly. "Good thing I told the team to prepare some clothes. I knew this would happen." Ranchali turned to the production staff. "Please call the stylist and have the clothes brought in." Everyone obeyed immediately. Within minutes, staff members were hurrying back and forth to carry out her instructions. Little Raffy is 1.80 meters tall, wears a medium shirt, and size 43 shoes, Ranchali said. "I wear size 42, Raffy corrected. "You wear size 43, dear," Ranchali insisted with a radiant smile, as though her son couldn't possibly know better than his own mother. "Did you read the questions I sent you online? Make sure you answer them properly. The host is also a drama producer. He might cast you in a role." "The clothes are ready, ma'am," an assistant announced with a respectful bow as she stepped forward. She looked at Raffy with exaggerated admiration. "Such beautiful skin, and so handsome. You're sure to become a star like your mother." "They can call him in for an audition," Ranchali added enthusiastically. "Little Raffy is very talented. He's studying acting and is the lead in his university's stage play. He won't disappoint anyone, I assure you." Completely uncomfortable, Raffy let out a quiet snort and followed the production staff, leaving Rome behind. After watching everything unfold, Rome frowned in confusion. Suddenly, his ordinary life seemed absolutely perfect compared to the problems people like them had. With nothing else to do that day, he decided to stay and watch the recording. Standing with his arms crossed, he observed Ranchali's interview, wondering how someone's life could seem so perfect. She had been a model, a famous actress, married to a billionaire, had a handsome son, and was still one of the most celebrated actresses in the Thai entertainment industry. Some people were truly born lucky, weren't they? To wrap things up, would you like to leave a message for everyone watching? The host asked near the end of the interview. At the end of this year, we'll have a new drama for everyone to enjoy. You won't have time to miss me, Ranchali replied with a smile. And, honestly, I'd also like to promote my son. She turned to Raffy, who immediately made a face. Soon, little Raffy will be starring in his university's theater production. Many people already know about the event because it's an annual tradition. This year, Raffy is the lead. Tickets will go on sale soon, so please keep an eye on the announcements and come support my son. Sitting quietly in the studio, Rome couldn't help letting out a small laugh. When the recording ended, he headed backstage to look for Raffy. From the doorway of the dressing room, he watched his friend remove his makeup with obvious frustration. Rome knocked lightly on the door. Raffy jumped before realizing who it was. I thought you'd already left, Raffy said. Not yet, Rome replied. And I heard your interview too? Or rather, your mother's interview on your behalf. Just forget it, Raffy muttered. You're quite the show-off, huh? Rome said, dragging over a chair and sitting down. Did you tell your mom you're the lead in the play? I never said that. Raffy snapped so sharply that Rome immediately stopped joking. My mother made that up herself. I never told her anything like that. I'm not the kind of person who exaggerates or takes credit for things I didn't do. I know I'm only a supporting actor. I'm not shameless enough to lie about myself. That's not what I meant. Think whatever you want. I don't care, Raffy continued. I'm just saying that, as her son, I'll never be good enough for her. She's never satisfied with me. Rome opened his mouth to respond, but in the end, he swallowed his words. Looking at Raffy, he finally understood how deeply those feelings had hurt him. Truthfully, he had already sensed it during the interview. So, are you still planning to chase after Jack today? Rome asked, changing the subject. Raffy looked ready to curse at him, but Rome quickly stood, grabbed his backpack, and held it up. Because if not, you're coming to eat with me. Raffy froze. You're not mad anymore because of Jack? He asked. Mad about what? Rome replied with a sly smile. You can chase after Jack if you want. Just remember that, right now. I'm the only one who's always here for you. Raffy fell silent, unsure whether to feel embarrassed or touched. More than anything, though, he was simply happy that Rome was still talking to him. Come on, didn't you want me to be your Grab driver? Do you know how expensive it is to hire me for the whole day? At last, Raffy stood. Smiling, Rome pushed his friend toward the exit so they could leave before anyone stopped them. They slipped away quietly without saying goodbye to the staff, or even to Ranchali herself. Even though Tua had only mentioned Arnold's name to brush Boston off, he really did end up taking Arnold out to dinner. They chose a Mexican restaurant. Arnold was both nervous and excited. It was his first time eating somewhere like this. He stared in amazement at the photos on the menu, paired with prices far higher than anything he was used to paying. Tua noticed and gently patted his arm. Don't stress so much. Order whatever you want. Aren't you hungry? I'm trying to decide. If I'm going to eat somewhere like this, I want to order something that'll actually fill me up. My strategy is simple. If you don't know what to order, just tell the waiter to bring one of everything. Tua joked. Arnold laughed, but the light-hearted mood vanished the moment an unwelcome guest appeared beside their table. Boston stood there with a suspicious smile, his eyes shifting between the two of them. Well, fancy running into you here. The sight of him made Tua freeze. Arnold glanced at his friend with concern. Completely oblivious to the fact that he wasn't wanted, Boston pulled out an empty chair, sat down without asking, took Arnold's menu, and flipped through it casually. Oh, right, he said, as if he had just remembered something. Turning to Arnold, he asked, Are you free tomorrow night? Yeah. What? Boston shot Tua a quick glance before smiling with satisfaction. It's about those profile photos we talked about. I happen to be free, and I want to use your pictures to promote the studio. Arnold isn't free. Tua cut in irritably. Boston ignored him. It's easy. Just pose for a few pictures, and I'll pay you. They pay for that? Arnold asked with interest. Tua immediately grew uneasy. He knew how badly Arnold needed money, and if Boston used that as bait, he held all the advantage. Of course I'll pay you. What kind of person do you think I am? Will it take long? If it's quick, I don't mind. Tua clenched his fists. He had known this was exactly how it would end. Delighted, Boston snapped his fingers and whistled cheerfully, giving Tua a mocking look. Perfect. See you tomorrow night at the studio. I'm busy during the day. Okay, Arnold? No problem. See you. I think I've changed my mind. I'll just go eat ramen instead. Enjoy your meal." Boston stood, waved casually, and left the restaurant with a satisfied smile. Tua was furious with Boston, and equally irritated that Arnold had agreed so easily. He lost his appetite completely. "What's wrong?" Arnold asked. "Do you want to order something special?" Hearing Arnold's voice softened Tua immediately. In an instant, the anger melted into a dreamy smile. He wanted to make the most of every moment with Arnold while he still could, because he had a terrible feeling Boston was going to take him away. "Nothing. Go ahead and order." Arnold studied him for a moment to make sure he was telling the truth before raising his hand to call the waiter. Timmy took charge of organizing the celebration at the Pink Pony Club. Excitedly, he announced, "We got a sponsor for the play, everyone. Let's drink." Everyone at the table cheered, except Dean, who yawned and looked at his friends with exhausted eyes. "With that amount, we can barely afford a black curtain for the stage. I'm not even sure it'll cover Tua's costumes," Dean grumbled. Tua, whose name had just been mentioned, didn't join the laughter. Instead, he sat staring at his phone, checking Boston's and Arnold's Instagram stories every 2 minutes. Noticing his strange behavior, Dean frowned. "What's wrong now, drama queen?" "Nothing. I'm fine." Dean looked him over skeptically. With that miserable expression, how could anyone believe he was fine? Timmy refused to let the atmosphere die. "With this money, we have to keep the sponsor happy. Especially you, Jack. If they want to stick a logo the size of a wash basin on the theater wall, you smile and say yes." "Got it." Jack nodded with little enthusiasm. Deep down, he preferred a clean stage that created a stronger atmosphere for the play. But, as always, money ruled the world. Seeing the famous director give in so easily pleased Timmy. It wasn't often Jack backed down without arguing. He called the waiter over and ordered another beer tower to celebrate. Dean, however, refused to let Tua off the hook. The Prince of Sinkham leaned closer, trying to peek at his phone. Tua quickly locked the screen. "If something's bothering you, you can tell me." I said nothing's wrong. "Fine. I'm going to the bathroom." Giving up, Dean left his friend alone with his thoughts. The bar was especially crowded that night because it was the weekend, so the hallway leading to the restrooms was packed. Dean squeezed through the crowd. As he passed a table of drunken students from his own university making a scene, he noticed nearby customers watching them with obvious annoyance. He was just about to continue walking when an unfamiliar hand suddenly slapped his butt hard. Dean spun around angrily. The man who had done it looked completely unashamed. Instead, he grinned arrogantly. "So, how much do you charge for a touch like that, little James Dean?" "Free," Dean replied with a sarcastic smile. "But why don't you try your mother's ass instead? It's about the same size, isn't it?" "Hey, asshole. Did you just insult my mother?" the man shouted. "You're the one who sells himself." "Wrong." Dean raised one finger like a game show host. "I'm an escort. That's different. But since you seem a little slow, I won't hold it against you. Even if I did sell my body, it wouldn't be to a filthy pig like you." The man's fist flew straight into Dean's face, leaving him momentarily dazed. He recovered almost instantly and punched back, landing a solid blow on the man's jaw. Furious, the man lunged again, but his friends restrained him. The more sober ones apologized to Dean with embarrassed expressions. Unfortunately, the troublemaker refused to calm down. Breaking free again, he charged. At that moment, Jack arrived just in time and yanked Dean aside. The punch meant for Dean landed squarely against Jack's temple. Ignoring the pain, Jack immediately retaliated with a powerful kick that sent the man crashing into a table, smashing it to pieces. Even then, the man continued shouting insults. "What the hell are you getting involved for, idiot? You still want more?" Jack snapped. He was about to charge again when Dean grabbed his arm. Jack stopped, changed his mind, took Dean's hand, and pulled him away from the crowd, clearly irritated. "What the hell happened? I look away for 1 second, and you're already causing trouble." Timmy sighed as he watched Dean fuss over Jack. In the end, he simply returned to his beer and wandered off to chat with acquaintances at another table. Dean winced when Jack hissed in pain after touching the bruise. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. It would just swell. The Prince of Sinkham wrapped some ice in a napkin and gently pressed it against Jack's temple. "So, the great director wants to play the hero now?" Dean teased. "Shut up," Jack muttered, glaring at him. "I just started getting along with you again, and you're already dragging me into trouble." "Oh, what exactly was I supposed to do?" smile and say, "Thank you for touching my ass." Not that. Exactly. Dean folded his arms. Someone like me doesn't let people touch him unless they pay. He had only meant it as a joke to lighten the mood. Jack didn't laugh. You're still saying things like that? What do you expect? I can't change my past. The only thing I can do is learn to live with it. See? Still trying to sound like a philosopher. Jack smiled faintly as he looked at his ex. Why can't I be the hero? Dean blushed slightly and rolled his eyes to hide it. He stood, stepped closer, climbed into Jack's lap, and wrapped his arms around his neck. Jack looked annoyed, but he didn't push him away. I really want to become a new person for you, Dean said softly. I told you. I'll become the new Dean. I think you will, Jack answered sincerely. At least now I can see that you're stronger. Dean's eyes trembled. His playful smile disappeared, replaced by genuine emotion. Thank you for helping me. No problem. You're always saving me, aren't you? His voice shook as though he might cry. Jack! What? Do you still love me? Even just a little? Jack fell silent. He studied Dean's eyes for a long moment before setting the ice aside and leaning forward to kiss him. It was a slow, passionate kiss in the middle of the noisy bar, as though the world had shrunk until only the two of them remained. Then, suddenly, Dean pulled away and looked around. Where's Tua? Jack shook his head. He didn't know. Dean worried for a moment before shrugging. He leaned in and kissed Jack again, and it felt just as magical as the first time. Arnold studied the photos of the muscular models Boston showed him. Boston smiled with quiet satisfaction as he approached carrying a can of beer and handed it over. Arnold took a sip before asking, Will I look as good as them? Of course. Your body is already perfect. If you're ready, take off your shirt. I'll set up the camera. Arnold looked at the photos a little longer, finished the beer, and removed his shirt without hesitation, revealing defined muscles and a flawless physique shaped through discipline, exercise, and dance. He walked toward Boston, who had already finished adjusting the camera. Boston gave him a signal. Arnold sat on the tall stool in the center of the set. Should I start posing? Sure. However you like. Arnold raised his arms to flex his biceps and showed off his sculpted abs. Boston watched him with concealed desire, smiling as the shutter clicked nonstop. How long have you known Tua? Boston asked. Since our first year. You two are really close, aren't you? The flash illuminated the room. But you don't seem like just friends. It feels like there's something more. Arnold immediately stopped posing. He stepped down from the stool and stood facing Boston, his serious expression making his discomfort obvious. Boston merely raised an eyebrow, as though he enjoyed provoking him. The real reason I came today was because I wanted to talk to you about Tua, Arnold said. Stop making him uncomfortable. You know he doesn't like it. And who does he like instead? You. The question left Arnold speechless for a moment. I only care about him. I don't know anything beyond that. But one thing I do know is that Tua deserves someone far better than you. Arnold stepped closer with an intimidating presence, towering beside the tripod. Boston didn't flinch. Instead, he walked right up to him until only a few centimeters separated them, close enough to feel each other's breath. And if I stop bothering Tua, what do I get in return? Boston smiled. Do you have anything interesting to offer me? He leaned closer, lowering his face toward Arnold's neck and brushing against it suggestively. At that very moment, the studio door burst open. Tua stood there, frozen in shock. What are you doing? Well, you actually followed me all the way here. Boston stepped away from Arnold. What? Did you think I was going to do something to your best friend? Then what were you doing? Tua rushed onto the set, looking back and forth between them before stepping protectively in front of Arnold. Relax. We were just talking. Nothing happened. Boston smiled provocatively. Arnold was asking me to stop bothering you. But before that, he said something interesting. He looked at Arnold. What was it again? That you have feelings for Tua? Arnold hesitated, unable to speak beneath Tua's searching gaze. Go on, Boston urged, slipping an arm around Tua's shoulders as though claiming him. Say it the way you said it to me. Otherwise, I'll take him for myself first. Boston leaned in as though about to kiss Tua's cheek right in front of Arnold. Arnold reacted first. He pulled Tua toward him and kissed him in front of everyone. Tua froze, eyes wide, unable to resist the fierce kiss that seemed determined to consume him. Rather than getting angry, Boston watched with an amused, satisfied smile. Then he stepped closer, rested his chin on Arnold's shoulder, and lifted Tua's chin with one hand, clearly intending to join the kiss without the slightest shame. Lost in the heat of the moment, Tua nearly gave in. But Arnold pushed him away, pulled him protectively behind himself, and shouted, "Stop messing with Tua once and for all." Grabbing his shirt with one hand and Tua's hand with the other, Arnold ran out of the studio with him, leaving Boston standing alone behind them, watching with a lingering smile. Chapter 15. I don't want realism. I want magic. From the play A Streetcar, named Desire by Tennessee Williams. The motorcycle came to a stop beside the fence in the middle of the night. The darkness told them Dean still hadn't returned from the Pink Pony Club. For a long moment, neither of them spoke, as though each was waiting for the other to break the silence. In the end, it was Tua, his heart pounding, who spoke first. The young stylist looked at Arnold cautiously, but Arnold met his gaze, just as he always did whenever they talked. "Let's go," Arnold said. "Wait a second. Can we talk inside for a bit?" Tua asked. Arnold hesitated for a moment, then switched off the engine and followed Tua into the house. Tua poured Arnold a glass of water while he waited on the sofa. When he returned, there was an air of nervous intimacy between them. "You're not drunk, are you?" Tua asked. "I didn't drink that much," Arnold replied. "Good," Tua said, then suddenly found himself at a loss for words. The question of why Arnold had gone to the photo shoot with Boston still lingered in the air. Had he only gone to stop Boston from bothering Tua? Yes, Arnold admitted without hesitation. "I've noticed for a long time that being around him makes you uncomfortable. After everything you told me, I didn't want him causing you any more trouble. So, that kiss was just a test? It didn't mean anything?" Tua asked, his throat tightening painfully. If he didn't ask now, he knew he would regret it forever. His voice trembled. "Did you only do it to make Boston leave me alone? Was that all? You want to know whether that kiss meant something to me?" Arnold replied. "It wasn't just to protect you from Boston. I also wanted to find out what I really feel for you, and whether I could return the feelings you have for me." Tua stared at him in disbelief, but he didn't let Arnold continue. He had already waited far too long. "I love you, Arnold. I've loved you since our first year," Tua confessed, laying his heart bare. "Do you hate me now that I've said it?" "I don't hate you, Tua. How could I?" Arnold replied gently. "I wanted to respond to your feelings somehow, but right now, I'm still not sure what I feel for you." "Didn't that kiss help you figure it out?" Tua asked. Arnold pressed his lips together, uncertain how to answer. Then he decided to act instead. "Can I kiss you again?" he asked. Tua didn't hesitate for even a second. He rose from the sofa and stepped into Arnold's embrace. Their lips met softly at first, as though they were carefully exploring each other. But with every passing second, the kiss deepened, growing hotter, charged with an almost desperate hunger. Their tongues tangled as neither wanted to pull away. Warm breaths mingled while their bodies pressed tightly together. Tua's hands slipped beneath Arnold's shirt, caressing the firm skin and defined muscles of his abdomen. The touch sent a shiver through him, and Arnold's erection quickly became obvious against Tua's hip. Tua smiled, satisfied to feel it for himself. "Wait," Arnold said, catching Tua's mischievous hand before it could lower his zipper. His eyes were filled with restrained desire. "I don't want you to regret this." "I won't," Tua replied firmly. Hearing that, Arnold released his hand. Tua's slender fingers slowly unzipped his fly. As soon as Arnold's manhood was freed, Tua eagerly took it into his warm mouth without hesitation. Arnold rested his hands on Tua's hips to steady him while his rough fingers traced over Tua's soft skin, exploring his body in return. "I don't want mediocre actors," said a woman in an impeccably tailored suit as she studied the actors' profiles pinned to the board before her. Jack, seated across the table, felt his blood begin to boil. He was about to say something he would regret, but Timmy discreetly stopped him with a light touch. The producer answered calmly. "What exactly do you mean, ma'am? Look at this. The lead actors barely have any followers. They don't compare to the others involved in the project. Only this Raffy stands out a little. At least he has the support of his mother, who's already an established star," Mrs. Pooey said, pointing at his photograph. "Why not make him the lead? I saw his interview on television. He has charisma and presence. He's worth investing in." Jack clenched his jaw. "Everyone here has talent, Mrs. Pooey," he replied. "If your company wants promotional photos or content, our actors will gladly cooperate." Mrs. Pui smiled thoughtfully before her expression turned calculating. Why not cast the famous actress's son as the lead? His popularity would certainly attract more sponsors. Jack immediately defended his cast. Everyone earned their role through auditions. This project wasn't thrown together overnight. We can't make decisions like that. Mrs. Pui tilted her head and laughed, completely unconcerned by the subtle criticism. As an investor, she knew where the power lay. A production without an audience? Then why should I invest? How many people will actually come to see the play and notice my company's logo? Timmy and the rest of the team exchanged uneasy glances while Mrs. Pui continued mercilessly. Replace the lead with Raffy. Someone with fame, followers, and public recognition makes this project worth sponsoring. Jack was so furious he could barely speak. Even Timmy, usually the peacemaker, looked increasingly uncomfortable. The final decision is still yours, Timmy said carefully, raising his hands in a pleading gesture. But if we don't accept her money, this play won't happen. I'm not interested. We'll find another sponsor, Jack replied. That's easy for you to say, director. But I'm the producer. I'm the one who has to find the money. We've already lost other sponsors because of this. Maybe they're right, Timmy insisted. How can you say that? Jack stared at him in disbelief. Everyone in this production is our friend. Don't you care? I do, Timmy replied. But this is still work. I don't want Raffy taking the role, but I also don't want to watch the entire production collapse because we ran out of funding. I know you can make this work, and I promise you won't have to worry about money again. Jack frowned, overwhelmed by frustration. I know it's difficult, Timmy continued, but we don't have another choice. If you're worried Raffy won't be ready, tell him from the beginning. He has no acting experience, so Romeo and Romeo will be his first real challenge. Jack sighed, looked Dean in the eye, and spoke seriously. I need to tell you something. Go ahead. I met with the sponsor. They're a major company willing to give us a lot of funding, but they want someone with fame and a large following. That's why they want Raffy as the lead. Dean fell silent, staring at Jack as he waited for more. When nothing else came, his expression hardened. I can't believe you actually agree with them. I don't, Jack replied quickly. But without a sponsor, there won't be a play. So you do agree, Dean said, disappointment clear in his voice. I thought you were smarter than that. That's not what I mean. There are other reasons the production could fall apart. Besides, this play has a purpose. You want Raffy to win the role through a fair audition? Dean interrupted bitterly. For money? Seriously, I'm not saying that. Jack tried to explain. We can do double casting. The two of you can play the role on different nights. And what difference does that make? Dean snapped. You're a hypocrite, Jack. You talk about theater as an art. You say passion comes before everything else. But the moment a sponsor speaks, you give in. Is that who you really are? Dean gripped the practice sword tightly before hurling it to the floor, where it shattered beyond repair. The Prince of Sinkham wiped away a tear of rage before stepping closer to Jack, who struggled to remain calm. Dean, calm down, Jack pleaded. I'm sorry I'm not the child of a famous star, Dean said bitterly. I'm sorry I don't have enough followers to help your project. But one thing you should know. He took a slow breath. I won't give up over something like this. Without another word, Dean stormed out of the rehearsal room, leaving Jack behind with a guilt he couldn't shake. When Tua woke up, Arnold was already gone. The only thing left behind was a sticky note on the bedside table. I left early. You looked tired, and I didn't want to wake you. Tua smiled without realizing it. He took a photo of the note and sent it to Arnold. See you at uni. On the way to the university, Tua stopped to buy takeout. He hoped he would find Arnold rehearsing during a break, and his instincts proved right. Arnold was practicing in front of the mirror in the rehearsal room while hip-hop music blasted through the speakers. As soon as he noticed Tua, Arnold walked over and turned off the music. You can keep practicing. I didn't mean to interrupt, Tua said. You're not interrupting, Arnold replied. Tua grinned so widely he nearly forgot why he had come. I brought you something to eat. You haven't had lunch yet, right? That was thoughtful, Arnold said, scratching the back of his head while avoiding Tua's eyes. Tua handed him the fast food bag. Inside was a burger and fries. Thanks. I'm starving. I'll finish this in no time. Taking the unspoken invitation, Tua sat beside him, and they quietly shared the meal. For a while, neither of them knew what to say. Eventually, Tua broke the silence. So, do you have an answer for me yet? Arnold raised an eyebrow. Seeing the hopeful look into his eyes, he glanced away. You want an answer that quickly? He asked softly. I just want to know what we are now, Tua replied. I can't answer you yet. Tua lowered his gaze, disappointment washing over him. Tears threatened to spill. Do you hate me? He whispered. What? Arnold smiled and reached over to hold Tua's hand. It's not like that. I just need time to figure out how I should be with you. For now, can we stay like this? A situationship. Is that okay? Sure. Tua replied, even though it wasn't what he truly wanted. That's fine. He took an unusually large bite of his burger, unable to ignore how much more relaxed Arnold seemed now. Ever since the talk show aired, Raffy had become the center of attention among both his classmates and students across the university. Everyone had fallen for the image of the handsome, wealthy heir he had portrayed on screen, even though it was nothing like his real life. The attention irritated Raffy, but he was afraid that showing it would make people call him arrogant and drag his famous mother into the criticism. So that day, he kept to himself, sitting alone while reviewing the script for the next rehearsal. Rome entered the garden beside the faculty building and spotted Raffy sitting alone beneath a fig tree while students secretly took photos of him with their phones. Although he had planned to rehearse with his band, he changed his mind and walked over instead. A relationship closer than friendship, yet still undefined as love. Raffy looked up as Rome approached. What a surprise, Rome said with a smile. Wow, Raffy replied. You're causing quite a stir. You're not just a famous actress's son anymore. You're becoming a star yourself, Rome joked as he sat beside him. Looks like you've already got a fan club. I'm not just a fan, he added with a laugh. I'm a little more than that. I know, Raffy chuckled. You're the one who gave me a ride. Rome didn't know how to respond. Raffy's tone was so casual that he couldn't tell whether it was meant as a compliment. So who brought you today? Rome asked. No one. My car's been repaired, Raffy replied as he flipped through the script. Then why am I even here? Rome asked with a laugh. You've got rehearsal. I don't want to distract you. I'm not really in the mood, Raffy admitted, setting down his highlighter as he noticed Rome sitting a little too close. Relax, Rome whispered. I thought you'd already given up on Jack. When did I ever say that? Raffy replied as he stood up. Between Rome's closeness and the students staring at them, he was beginning to feel uncomfortable. He turned toward the classroom where rehearsal had just finished. Rome felt the sting of rejection and reached out to catch Raffy's arm. At that exact moment, loud applause echoed beneath the tree. Everyone turned toward the sound. Dean appeared, clapping slowly with fury written across his face. Without saying a word, his expression alone revealed everything. Rome looked at him and immediately knew trouble was coming. What's wrong, little Raffy? Dean said mockingly as he gave one last sarcastic clap. You're so handsome, so talented that even the sponsors want you as the lead. What are you talking about? Raffy asked, confused. Don't pretend you don't know. You've already started thinking of yourself as the protagonist, haven't you? Calm down, Rome interrupted, equally confused as he tried to ease the tension. Let's talk this through. To hell with that star's son, Dean shouted. I told you I don't know what you're talking about. Raffy snapped. You're shameless. Without warning, Dean's fist slammed into Raffy's face, knocking him backward. Rome caught him before he could fall, but Raffy immediately broke free, ready to fight back. Before he could throw a punch, Jack arrived and grabbed Dean's arm, stepping between them. What's going on, Jack? Raffy demanded. Why is he attacking me for no reason? Dean tried to answer, but Jack cut him off. The director sighed heavily before revealing the truth. I was just about to tell you. Starting today, you'll be double cast as Romeo, Jack said, alongside Dean. Raffy froze. He was shocked and secretly delighted. Even Rome, standing beside him, couldn't believe what he had heard. Why Jack? Dean demanded. Because he's famous, Dean answered bitterly before Jack could speak. His fame brings money to the production, unlike me, who has nothing. Dean, Jack said quietly, understanding his pain. I don't want to do this either. But I have to think about the entire production. The actors, the costumes, the set, everything costs money. As the director, I have to see the bigger picture. His explanation did nothing to calm Dean. The Prince of Sinkham shoved Jack aside, wiped away another tear of anger, then forced a painful smile. I understand, Dean said. Fame and followers matter more. Before Jack could answer, Dean continued. You fight as the director. I'll fight as an actor. Then he turned toward Raffy, whose confident smile only fueled his anger. Get ready, little Raffy. I'll show you what a real actor looks like, not just a pretty face with a famous mother. He let out one final laugh. Because I know you don't have what it takes. The Prince of Sinkham walked away, leaving Raffy standing there, hurt and alone. A moment later, Rome quietly left as well. Raffy remained where he was, forcing himself to look understanding, unable to let go of Jack, the older brother figure who always seemed to surpass him in everything. Chapter 16. I never imagined losing my mind was going to be such hard work. From the play Angels in America by Tony Kushner. Dean had been crying on the bed for hours. When he finally cried himself out, he fell asleep, only to wake up and start crying all over again. By the time he realized it, the sun had already set. He forced himself to sit up, grabbed his phone, and after hesitating for a long while, finally found the courage to open TikTok. He scrolled aimlessly, letting the algorithm feed him random videos. With his long, slender fingers, he tapped, like, on a video posted by a friend from the faculty who taught acting techniques. As he kept scrolling, he came across an OED video, a stylish teenager confidently showing off his outfit of the day. Dean's eyes widened at the sight of the thousands of likes. Still, he knew he didn't have the kind of flashy style that attracted that much attention online. Then Arnold's video appeared. The lead actor of their theater group was singing and dancing sensually. At the end of the clip, he pulled off his shirt to reveal a perfectly sculpted set of abs. It was no wonder the video had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments praising him. At least Arnold had fame to show for it. Dean, the self-proclaimed Prince of Sinkham, let out a deep sigh. Then another video appeared. It was from a boy he vaguely remembered, named Mew from the Faculty of Business Administration. They had met during freshman orientation after both had been placed in the Handsome Guys group by the seniors. Since then, they had followed each other on social media. In the video, Mew was singing with another boy whose username identified him as Top. He was handsome, tall, and slender, like a runway model. The two exchanged meaningful glances as they moved in rhythm with the music. Even an outsider like Dean could feel the undeniable chemistry between them. It was no surprise the video had hundreds of thousands of likes, along with countless comments and hashtags like #TopMew demanding more content from the pair. Are they really that popular already? Dean thought. His eyes filled with tears again. He scrolled upward, and Arnold's video appeared once more. He stared at it for a long moment. It didn't take long for an idea to form. Dean headed straight to his friend's dorm room. The door flew open. The owner of the room, wearing a face mask, nearly jumped out of his skin. Arnold's TikTok video was playing on the phone in his hand, with the actor dancing across the screen. Can't you knock first? Are you going to die if you do? He complained. Then he looked at Dean with concern. What's wrong with you now? What crazy idea have you come up with this time? I'm going to die. Do you know what happened? Do you know what Jack did to me? You two are still fighting? What happened this time? He made Raffy my replacement to get money from the sponsors. What did you say? The masked boy hurried to his feet, his playful expression instantly disappearing. He didn't tell you anything, huh? Dean pouted before glancing at Arnold's video, still playing on the phone. Or are you secretly in love with this guy or something? Tua quickly locked the screen and pretended he had no idea what Dean was talking about. I've been busy with my own work. I haven't had time to talk to anyone lately. Dean ignored the excuse. He flopped onto his friend's bed, turned toward him, and spoke bluntly. I want to be famous. Tua had been about to ask where this was coming from, but answered honestly instead. You're a little late for that, Dean. That video of you dancing is already all over the internet. Did you forget? What's gotten into you all of a sudden? Because fame brings opportunities, replied the Prince of Sinkham. I'm not just talking about the faculty theater. I've thought it through. If I don't have followers, I'll never get the best jobs in the future. I'll always lose to people who already have fame. So I need to stand out. Once people notice me, they'll see that I'm a good actor without me having to struggle so much. It sounds simple, Dean, but how are you planning to do that? That's exactly why I came to see you. Dean smiled. Can I use Arnold to make some content? Tua froze. Arnold, you've seen the potential of his TikTok already. Since we're going to play a couple anyway, why not make some noise? What if I make content with him or invite him onto my channel? I guarantee it'll blow up. It might even help promote the company's drama. Pretend like you're a couple? Hey, not that far. Dean rolled his eyes. Well, honestly, yes. People need to see that image. I'm not planning anything serious with him, so relax. I know he's your friend. Dean, come on. I came all the way here to ask your permission first, didn't I? It's not like I'm the only one who benefits. Arnold benefits too. Fame will help him get work more easily instead of having to be a companion boy like me. Tua found himself persuaded. Dean wasn't wrong. Romantic content spread quickly these days. Arnold and Dean already had natural chemistry, so it shouldn't be difficult. Besides, Arnold would gain something from it as well. The only question was whether Tua himself could bear watching them together. Fine. Talk to him and see what he says. I knew you'd understand. Dean threw his arms around him in a hug so tight that Tua had to protect his face mask from getting crushed. So, how are things with that guy? Why are you asking? I want gossip. Dean winked. Did something finally happen? Yes. What? Dean practically leaped off the bed. I knew something was different. You've got this glowing aura, perfect skin, everything. So that's the reason. What nonsense are you talking about? Tua muttered, turning away. Go home already. I want to sleep. Dean grinned proudly at the back of his friend's head. The day had been full of terrible things, but at least he had ended it with one piece of good news. The Pink Pony Club had transformed into a bustling night market after students from the Faculty of Fine Arts took over the venue to raise funds. Every department had its own booth selling food, drinks, games, activities, handmade goods, and merchandise. There was even a tarot reading booth that proved especially popular with Gen Z, drawing a line far longer than any of the others. Tua was using his artistic talent to draw portraits for customers while Arnold helped as his assistant. At the same booth, Dean was selling vintage clothing and accessories that attracted plenty of attention. Directly across from them, however, Raffy was running a second-hand luxury clothing stall, resulting in plenty of hostile glances between the two, though things never escalated into open conflict. The sound of a camera shutter echoed through the market. Boston wandered around taking photos of the lively atmosphere. Tua and Arnold deliberately avoided him, while Dean cheerfully flashed a peace sign and posed for the camera. Business good? Boston asked Dean, though his eyes drifted toward the other two. It's okay, but I'm exhausted. Buy something so I can close the stall already. Come on, I'm not that rich. You're hopeless. Dean rolled his eyes dramatically. If you're not buying anything, stop getting in the way and go bother someone else. Boston laughed and crossed over to Raffy's booth instead. Raffy enthusiastically showed clothes to customers while Boston photographed everything. When Raffy noticed him, he simply raised an eyebrow, smiled, and allowed him to keep taking pictures. That smile made Boston pause. A moment later, he recovered, snapped a few more photos, and nodded his thanks. He studied the pictures on his screen before looking back at the real Raffy. A playful smile spread across his face. Once Boston moved on, Tua returned to drawing another customer's portrait. Even though Arnold had watched him work before, he still couldn't hide his admiration. I thought you only designed clothes, Arnold said. The fundamentals are the same, Tua replied. I started out drawing, but it's been a long time since I've done portraits. You're still amazing, Arnold said as he handed the finished portrait to the customer along with the QR code for payment. You should learn to accept compliments instead of always criticizing yourself. Tua smiled and nodded. Compliments from Arnold always made him happy. The peaceful moment ended when Dean approached wearing a mischievous grin, his phone already in hand. So, Romeo, Dean said, how's the atmosphere? Arnold looked around. It's nice. People are probably more interested in food right now, so I don't think we'll have customers for a while. How about you? Dean ignored the question. Let's make some content. What kind of content? I want to film something with you. We can promote the faculty play. Since we're already playing a couple, let's create a romantic moment to get people interested and sell tickets. What do you think? Arnold hesitated before looking to Tua. It's fine, Tua said as he took Dean's phone. At least it'll help promote the play. What do you want me to film? Since we're already at the market, let's do a little date walk. We'll stroll through the booths. I'll buy you a drink, you'll buy me dessert, and we'll review everything. That'll help it go viral. Tua pressed his lips together, hiding his discomfort. Dean rolled his eyes at Arnold's hesitation. He grabbed Arnold's thick, muscular arm, nearly the size of a child's head, and pulled him to his feet. Stop overthinking it. Let's go. We'll start at our own booth. Just film. Tua silently nodded and reluctantly accepted. Timmy was busy collecting donations for the theater when his usual smile slowly disappeared. Across the market, Dean was holding Arnold's hand as they browsed the vintage clothing stall. The Prince of Sinkham even helped Arnold take off his shirt so he could try on clothes, openly admiring his physique. Timmy's eyes widened. He jabbed the distracted person beside him. Jack, huh? Jack followed Timmy's gaze. His brow immediately furrowed. He watched Dean tuck Arnold's shirt neatly into his pants with an intimacy that made irritation boil inside him. What are they doing? Why do they have to stand so close? They're probably filming content, Timmy replied, pointing toward Tua, who was recording everything on Dean's phone. Knowing Jack was upset, he tried to reassure him. Come on, didn't Dean already say he wasn't giving up? Couldn't they have done it another way? The atmosphere grew even heavier. With a quiet sigh, Timmy decided to buy something to eat, leaving Jack standing there alone, silently fuming. Then someone approached. Hey, Raffy. What's wrong? You don't look very happy, Raffy asked, pretending to be concerned even though he already suspected the reason. Didn't you raise enough money? No, that's not it. I'm just bored. I want to leave too. I brought way too many things to sell. If people see me, they'll probably accuse me of showing off because I'm rich or because I'm a celebrity's son. Though with this face, they're probably already talking. Jack chuckled. Why care so much about what other people think? When you're truly successful, your achievements will speak for themselves. See? You're the only one who believes in me. Raffy's mood visibly improved. Want to walk around together? Jack thought about it for a moment. No, I think I'm heading home. I'm not in the mood today. Just then Timmy returned with food. Jack offered Raffy a faint smile before walking away, unwilling to keep watching the scene that was tormenting him. Rome wasn't interested in the market at all. He had only come for the beer. He had even timed his arrival perfectly for happy hour, taking pride in spending money wisely. He sat alone at the bar while Pinky, the owner, personally poured him a large glass of ice-cold beer. Just then, he caught the scent of a familiar perfume. One bottle of soju, please, Raffy said in a bored voice. Coming right up, handsome, Pinky teased. One cold drink, and that sour face will disappear. Rome raised an eyebrow. You're not even going to say hello? Oh, Raffy finally noticed him. How was I supposed to know you were here? If you've got a mouth, you could have greeted me first. Fine. Rome laughed sarcastically and shrugged, though he had actually planned to talk to Raffy about his market stall. Before he could say anything else, someone interrupted. Excuse me. Boston appeared with his ever-present camera. I took some photos of you earlier, Raffy. Do you want them? Raffy looked surprised, but after noticing Boston's flirtatious attitude, he decided to flirt back. Is that your subtle way of asking for my line? Hey, no. Boston laughed. I could just airdrop them. No problem. I'd give it to you anyway if you asked. Oh, then I guess we're friends now. Want to be something more? Raffy replied with a teasing raise of his eyebrow. Rome heard every word. Annoyance surged through him. He drained his beer in one gulp, slammed the empty glass onto the counter, and signaled Pinky for another. So tonight, do you want to? Boston began. I was planning to leave anyway, Raffy said thoughtfully. Where do you want to go? That was enough. Rome shot to his feet, grabbed Raffy by the collar, and dragged him toward the exit, ignoring Boston's protests. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you that desperate? What are you talking about? You were about to leave with him, weren't you? What's wrong with you, Rome? Raffy shouted. You say you like Jack, yet you're the one flirting with everyone. Raffy was startled by Rome's anger. He couldn't understand it. My life is my business, Raffy snapped. We're nothing. But I'm your friend. Yes. Raffy stepped closer. Friends with benefits. Silence. Friends with benefits. Nothing more. You have no right to interfere with my life. Rome stood frozen. He had already been furious after watching Boston flirt with Raffy, and hearing those words pushed him over the edge. He shoved Raffy away before laughing bitterly. Fine, Raffy. He stared straight into his eyes. If you want to sleep with just anyone, if you want to become someone with no self-respect, then go ahead. Just don't come crying to me afterward. Raffy couldn't say a word. Those words pierced his heart like a knife. All he could do was watch Rome disappear into the crowd without looking back. Nearby, Boston watched the entire exchange with quiet satisfaction. Dean wrapped up his influencer experiment by live-streaming with Arnold at the Boy in the Water booth, easily the most popular attraction at the fair. People passing by eagerly took photos and videos of the adorable pair before sharing everything across social media. Everything was going perfectly, except for one thing. "That's enough, Dean," Jack said as he approached, his voice calm but firm. "We have rehearsal tomorrow. If you two keep this up, you're both going to catch a cold. We're done already. Relax. We got some great content." Dean and Arnold waved goodbye to the livestream audience before changing into dry clothes. Tua handed them fresh outfits before leaving with Arnold, leaving Jack alone with Dean. Jack frowned when he noticed Dean changing right there in the open, completely shirtless. "Why don't you use the bathroom?" "Come on." Dean smiled sweetly. "It's not like you've never seen me without a shirt before." "What? Afraid you won't be able to control yourself?" "I'm not the type of person who likes doing things out in the open." "Right? You're the lonely guy who never leaves his bed." Dean slipped on a clean shirt, planted himself in front of Jack with his hands on his hips, and puffed out his chest proudly. "So? Didn't I do well? I think you should stop trying. It's pointless. You're just wasting your energy." "Oh, Mr. Police Officer." Dean grinned mischievously. "Are you saying that as a director? Or as a jealous ex-boyfriend?" The word struck Jack right where it hurt. "You know that idiot is in love with Arnold, don't you? Have you even thought about how he's going to feel?" "I already talked to him. Relax. He was the one filming us." Dean smiled mockingly. "You still haven't answered me. So it's true after all. You're jealous, aren't you?" "I don't know. See? Now do you believe me when I say I'm a top-tier actor? We were only pretending to be a couple for content, and you're already tying yourself in knots. I told you this handsome guy would bring you more followers. Just wait and see." Dean gave Jack a friendly pat on the shoulder. Jack immediately shrugged off the touch, muttered something under his breath, and walked away to continue supervising the theater club's fundraising booth.